Gaming news today is jam-packed with new announcements and surprises, from the big reveal about Halo switching to Unreal 5 and a change with the studio. We're going to talk about that. Hearing one of the biggest Xbox first-party games will be PS5 Pro enhanced. There were interviews with insiders claiming that nobody at Xbox knows the future of Xbox plans. There are great reviews for Diablo 4 Vessel of Hatred and the Silent Hill 2 remake, and my most recent video covered Xbox and the PS5 Pro. It included the news about Xbox games being PS5 Pro enhanced, along with statements from an insider about Xbox. It's basically sort of a breakdown of the feeling of betrayal that Xbox fans feel. So if you feel betrayed by the brand, if you're like some of us that feel like they have very, very much changed course and gone back on things, be sure to check that video out. It's called Xbox and the PS5 Pro. So, starting off today's gaming news, though, it clearly, I think, relates to the topic of Halo, okay? Halo officially announced that it will be switching to the Unreal 5 engine. And they tweeted out, they said, a new dawn. They said, we're entering the next chapter of the franchise and changing the recipe for how we make Halo games. And they also revealed that they are working on multiple Halo projects. But more than that, 343 Industries will no longer be the name of the studio. It will now be dubbed Halo Studios. Now, I obviously have some thoughts on this. First, I've said for a very long time they needed to leave the Slipspace engine. It also seemed that Unreal was the engine that the devs kept gravitating towards. There was the information around the time that Joseph Staten left that there were small pockets in dev teams working on concepts and building Halo in Unreal for some reason. So I think this is a good change, okay? A lot of gamers are, though, worried about the recent batch of bad UE5 game. Unreal Engine 5 games haven't been the greatest, but the coalition has been tasked with helping other Xbox studios with UE5, and devs do continue to fix the issues with their game. We saw the Immortals of Avium get a lot of their things fixed, as well as Lords of the Fallen. So I don't think that UE5 will just continue to be a problem. Remember that Fortnite also runs in UE5. My biggest request is that Microsoft remove the 18-month contract policy, because Halo Studios is hiring, okay? And sure, more devs across the globe can work with UE5, and they won't need trained in Slipspace when you bring them in, but it's still a terrible policy to have anybody on a contract leaving after 18 months. If they don't remove that policy, I do not have high hopes for any of the studios under Microsoft ownership. You can switch to better technology, but if your corporate policies are hobbling your studios, then don't expect excellence, okay? We've had many former 343 employees come out and quite literally say this is the reason that Halo Infinite was so bad, all right? The second thing that I really want to say is many see this as a move to making Halo a multi-plat franchise. I don't know if I agree that an engine switch signals that entirely, but I definitely think that it could. I think if you put all the pieces together, the engine switch sort of points to, yes, Halo is likely headed toward being a multi-plat game. And Tom Warren from The Verge was very quick to chime in this morning and remind folks that back in June, he reported about Halo potentially coming to the PS5. The verbiage was that Halo was being considered to come to PlayStation 5, and the same sources were saying that there was a Combat Evolved remaster in the works. So that, I think, is signaling that maybe Tom Warren knows something. He's like, hey, I tried to tell y'all in June this was being considered and that there was a Combat Evolved remaster, so it's looking like Halo may be headed to PlayStation at some point in the future. Now, the other big news about Halo wasn't necessarily big news. It was that Halo Infinite will be getting third person in November. So that was not nearly as big as what they had to say about the engine. Now, the second thing in gaming news today is that nobody at Xbox knows what the plans are. In my recent video, I covered this. Really make sure and check that out. I think it's going to start to make headlines. Jason Schreier from Bloomberg was doing an interview about his book, and Phil went from sort of being this benevolent leader to just another Bobby Kotick within 3 months, because he's like, oh, we're here to save you guys, and then lays off thousands of people. The plans appear to keep changing because nobody really knows what the plan is, according to Jason Schreier. So relevant to my video, Xbox's view of the PS5 Pro is still up in the air. They're allowing first-party games to get the PS5 Pro enhanced label, which seems to signal that they will not be attempting to compete on power any longer, which begs the question, what will that big technological leap be that Sarah Bond talked about? If you're not competing with PlayStation on power, what's going to be your big tech leap? We're obviously going to have to wait and see. If we're ever given an outline or a clear vision of what Xbox is planning and where they're headed in just 10 months, the entire brand seems to have changed, and now their lead tentpole icon game, Halo, just switched engines and the devs switched names, so anything could happen. The third thing that I want to tell you about in gaming news is that Diablo 4 Vessel of Hatred is getting really, really good reviews. Currently, it has an 86 on OpenCritic and an 85 on Metacritic. Now, to many, this is the start of a turning point for Diablo 4. I'm still holding off. I'm going to want to play, I think, Path of Exile 2 first, and I don't want to have fresh points of comparison to Diablo. My memory of Diablo is not so great. If they're making a comeback, awesome, but I'm going to try out PoE 2 first whenever they have their beta later this year. I also know from things that I've seen that they barely changed the skill trees, and that's something that I was most bored by when I played Diablo 4. They were very linear. They just sort of went from one thing to the next, and your attacks, your abilities didn't largely seem to change all that much, and I preferred the rune system in Diablo 3 and how you could kind of move things around. So I'm glad to see Vessel of Hatred getting good reviews. I hope Diablo fans are enjoying it, but I don't really feel like dipping my toe back in just yet. The fourth news item for you guys is that Dragon Age Veilguard has gone gold. Not much else to say other than it's gone gold. The gameplay continues to look better, I think. Albeit, I think there is some strange things with respect to performance, so hopefully it is a well-optimized game. The recent round of previews were very positive, so it's looking like that game is going to land, hopefully, in a good place. The fifth story for you is that Digital Foundry got hands-on with the TLU 2, The Last of Us 2, on the PlayStation 5 Pro, and they had high praise for the Pro. They are very impressed, seemingly, with PSSR technology. They got to see it kind of up close and in action with this game. Now, obviously, one of the big pushbacks lately with the PS5 Pro is that people are saying, listen, you're only showing us old games, right? You're only talking about old games. Like, these are already games that have been released, and why are you using these games to promote the PS5 Pro? I was thinking about that a lot, and it dawned on me that it's a pretty weak and honestly kind of a dumb criticism, and I'm going to explain why. First and foremost, the PS5 Pro is meant to show us a bump in performance while maintaining fidelity and while using things like ray tracing. Well, the best way to showcase that is with games that we are already familiar with. Showing me a brand new game would certainly be exciting, but the wow factor only really comes from the comparison, and that comparison wouldn't be nearly as strong because it's a game that I've never played, it's a game I've never seen on my TV. Also, it's not the best way to market a new game. Hey, here's these side-by-sides and these slowdowns and these freeze frames of our brand new game. It just makes more sense to wait. You could announce those new games, give them the PS5 Pro Enhanced label, and then you can have follow-up videos explaining how they're harnessing the Pro. They could do this with blog posts, trailers, and the like. Also, the last time I checked, time is not at a standstill. So the criticism only really lands in this vacuum where, oh, well, I guess no new games are ever going to come out. This time next year, I think many are going to really change what they think about this subject as more and more hands-on previews roll out. It's clear many of the people made a lot of really bad mistakes in those early weeks, recommending really stupid PCs that you would never build, you would never consider to be equal or on par with the Pro, especially buying used parts and other things like that. I really think a lot of people have overstepped, and the more games come out and harness the power of the Pro, I think we're going to see that dialogue continue to shift. Now, Ubisoft, another story here for you. Ubisoft has acknowledged buyout offers. If you've not been paying attention, Ubisoft has been in a pretty rough spot, and it doesn't seem to be improving. But there were rumors about a potential buyout and had their stock starting to kind of rebound and bounce back. And Ubisoft made an official statement to Eurogamer about the rumors. And they said, quote, Ubisoft has noted recent press speculation regarding potential interest around the company. It regularly reviews all its strategic options in the interest of its stakeholders and will inform the market if and when appropriate. Now, I honestly would not be surprised if this ends up happening, okay? Maybe it even leads to better management of all of the really valuable property that Ubisoft has that they seem to be continuing to squander and not do good things with. We're hoping that AC Shadows can land in a better place with a delay, but it seems like there is going to be some potential, changes ahead for them with regard to their quality, as well as their games and their studios, because this is not a game company, I think, that could be quickly combed over or quickly changed. This is probably going to be a slow process, but they could get bought and chopped up. Now it's time to put some games on your wish lists and your radar, and I try to highlight some games that you might not be familiar with, or you might not be, you maybe haven't seen them yet. And this one showed up on Twitter for me. It's called Nimrod's Guncraft Survivor, and it has a current release date on Steam of October the 28th. And this is going to be one where they say you can assemble a limitless arsenal in the survive 'em up roguelite shooter. And it has a Metal Slug vibe. There's like a pixel graphic style. There's some bullet hell going on. It looks like a really, really great combo. This is really my kind of game right now. And it does, you can see here, have a demo if you want to try this one out. It does launch on October the 28th. We don't have a price yet for that, but that's one to put on your wish list. Now, one to put on your radar, just released today, and this one had been already on my wish list, is called Anima Flux, and it released today on Steam, but it also has a demo if you feel like trying before buying. This is a co-op Metroidvania. I think it has a very, very cool art style. It's sort of a mixed hand-drawn, almost like a cartoon style with very fluid animations and very, very cool lighting. As a Metroidvania, I definitely want to check this out. So if you're interested in either Anima Flux or Nimrod's Guncraft Survivor, we do a segment called The Green Room. It's for Member Plus and above, and that's a great way for me to showcase games to you guys. We'll be checking those out later today. If you are interested, make sure you're upgraded to Member Plus or above. And then don't forget, October the 8th, Silent Hill 2 releases. Great reviews, as we've said. I think it looks better and better. I'm going to be checking that one out. Maybe I'll make my wife play it this Friday. We'll see. And then October the 10th is Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, and October the 11th is Metaphor. Oh, and Foam Stars is now free to play for anybody that cares. So, a big week for game releases and a big day, already a big week for gaming news. Halo with Unreal 5, Xbox's future's kind of unknown. Xbox and the PS5 Pro. Diablo DLC reviews are strong. Dragon Age Veilguard's gone gold. Digital Foundry continues to have high praise for the PSSR technology on the PS5 Pro. And a big week of releases. So that's the gaming news. And now it's time for the discussion. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. And hot off the presses, I told you guys that this game would potentially change the Game of the Year discussion, and it's off to an incredible start. Metaphor has currently a 95 on OpenCritic, and it's in the low 90s on all platforms. Xbox has a 93, PC's a 90, and a 94 on PS5 on Metacritic. I told you guys, I said the last game that's going to enter the picture and potentially change the Game of the Year discussion is Metaphor. So that is certainly, with that being such a strong start, that is almost assuredly going to be one of the Game of the Year nominations this year. I kept telling you guys that last week. I was like, you better watch out for Metaphor. That game's going to land very, very strong. Good year for games all around. If you are a fan of fighting games or turn-based games, or any of the games that we've already been showcasing on this channel, like action games, melee-based games, co-op games. It's been a really, really good year for games, and we're not even done yet. Like, October's just kind of starting to heat up. So, guys, take a quick second and smash the like button. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. And with the new format, we can talk about basically anything that's going on in gaming news. Certainly, if you want to talk about my video this morning, Xbox and the PS5, what's that going to look like going forward? We got Halo and Unreal. There's a lot to talk about. Ask me any questions or bring up anything you want in the chat, and we can get this Monday started. For real, fighting games are so good this year. Yeah, I mean, the fighting guys are seriously eating. Tell these guys that Disney owns indie and not Xbox. Bethesda is the publisher, and it's multiplat only because of Disney. Well, I wouldn't say it's going to be multi-plat only because of Disney, because they originally renegotiated the contract to make it exclusive, and Disney would have had to approve that. So I don't quite understand why you think. Can you explain to me why you think it's only going multi-plat because of Disney? I mean, from where I sit, it seems like things are going multi-plat because of Satya Nadella. I don't see any evidence that Disney interfered here. Yo, DK Bager, Han shot first and so did you. That's the first gifted member of the week. And man, you guys are going to need a bounce back. We missed it last week. Let's see if we can bounce back and have a strong week and hit that 500. Maybe we'll make Madam play Silent Hill 2 remake on Friday night. I think that could be really, really fun. Really, really fun. She just walked in the room. She's like, what? It's not a boo-boo game. Freedom of speech, buddy, deal with it. I mean, freedom of speech doesn't apply to talking in a YouTube chat. But again, Disney's money hungry. I don't think you're wrong in your assessment that Disney wants money, but I think you're incorrect in your assessment that it's going multi-plat because of Disney. Again, you have to remember that Microsoft and Xbox renegotiated the contract to make it exclusive. So the decision to make it multi-plat came from Xbox. It came from Microsoft. Largely, I believe it came from Satya Nadella. So going forward, I mean, who are you going to blame? Hi-Fi Rush or Sea of Thieves or Pentiment or, you know, Doom the Dark Ages? Phil Spencer told them, you know, that all future Bethesda games would be exclusive. That came out during the FTC trial. So Doom the Dark Ages became a multi-plat. I mean, I think the switch to multi-plat, I think, is not coming from external sources or forces. I don't think so. Now, you could compel me that that's the case with Blade. Like, I think Blade's been multi-plat from moment one, and I think that was largely probably driven by Disney and Marvel. I would agree with you if you said that. Indiana Jones, I don't think so, because they agreed to new terms of a contract on exclusivity. So, didn't realize he's ruining Xbox by doing that. I mean, listen, today's video is literally about that. It's quite literally about the sense of feeling betrayal. Like the fact that Xbox fans feel betrayed. I mean, you should feel betrayed. You should. I mean, up to now, the promises were ZeniMax acquisition is going to be more great exclusives where Game Pass lives. That's not happening. Doom the Dark Ages is not an exclusive. It isn't. And future ZeniMax Bethesda titles will not be exclusive. They have completely shifted strategy. And to me, I would continue to say that if you do feel betrayed, as I said today, I opened that video with that quote, like, betrayal never comes from your enemies, because it can't really come from your enemies. The only way you can betray somebody is there has to be established trust, right? The very equation of betrayal requires there to be some level of trust. An enemy can't. How can an enemy betray you? You know where you stand with your enemy, right? There's no possibility for broken trust there, unless of course an enemy tells you, "Hey, let's have a truce," and then they stab you in the back. That obviously, but that's rare, right? In my estimation, the people that feel betrayed, what they should be doing is deciding what you're going to do next. Like, decide what you're going to do next. Are you going to stay with Xbox? Are you going to switch to PC? Are you going to switch to PlayStation? You've got some choices in front of you, you know, and it can be a hard choice because your library is important to you, as it should be. And especially if you spend a lot of money on that library. Now, here's the thing with a lot of the Xbox fans that I've engaged with and had dialogue with for the last 4 years. You haven't been building a library. You've been using Game Pass, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. You saw value, you went where you thought there was value, and that's where you planted your flag. That's where you spent your money. But here's the thing. That's not a library, so it really is only there if you continue to pay for Game Pass. It's not some back compatible library that you're leaving behind. And let me tell you, there's good and bad about that. The bad news is you don't have a library. The good news is you don't have a library. You can go somewhere else, and in a couple of years, if they release a handheld that you think looks really cool, or maybe the next console is the PC hybrid. Maybe it's a PC hybrid and they have a you know, the dockable handheld, which was like one of the rumors that we saw kind of paraded around. Well, if that's the case, then you can go right back over there, subscribe to Game Pass, and then all of a sudden you have access to all those games again. Don't you see? It's a bad thing that you've not been building a library, but you could also see it as a good thing. It makes you more malleable. You can go somewhere else if you want. You can go to another platform. You're not leaving behind a library. You haven't been buying games for the last 4 years. Now, that's not true of everybody, but it's certainly true of a lot of the Xbox guys I've engaged with. For the last 4 years, it's like, eating good on Game Pass, Game Pass, Game Pass, Game Pass. We don't buy games. Why would you buy games? We use Game Pass. Well, I mean, good for you. That makes you can be pretty nomadic as a gamer. You can move around. You don't have to stay with Xbox. There's no reason to. Now, on the subject of Halo, we were talking about this morning in Morning Coffee, a great reason to become a member. You get to start your day with us. We kind of prime the pump for the day. And I'm like, dude, there's no way that Xbox and Microsoft are investing in Halo and not making it multi-plat. There's just no way. They have continued to signal that if they invest money in something, it's going multi-plat, dude. It's 100% going multi-plat. I can't see them saying, let's reinvigorate Halo. Let's change the studio's name to Halo Studios. Let's change everything to UE5. And then let's make it exclusive. Do you know, like, that doesn't make any sense at all. I don't think you would make all those changes. I don't think you would make all those pivots and adjustments and then say, oh yeah, we're going to limit Halo to just PC and Xbox, especially considering in that first year, many of the fans continued to point to Steam and say, well, the reason Halo doesn't perform well on Steam is because it's primarily an Xbox game. They never want to admit the fact that, like, Halo Infinite actually wasn't a very good game, and that's why it didn't perform well on Steam. It was always blamed on the fact that, like, well, the primary Halo audience is on Xbox. You don't have your coffee bags up anymore? I just stopped doing it. I mean, I can. I probably should. We revamped the whole website, and we finally fixed all of the shipping issues. I got out of habit of doing it because we were having so many problems. It was a pain in the rear end. Now it's pretty much streamlined where I can print the labels a whole lot easier. I bet I buy more games than you. Right, but nobody's saying that you're not buying games, right? Game Pass gives you discounts. Why do you think Game Pass gamers don't buy games? Listen, man, I'm here to tell you, again, for the last 4 years, I have engaged with people. For the last 4 years, I've engaged with people that consistently made it clear they lived on Game Pass. They didn't buy games. That wasn't their interest. Their interest was in, I get a day one on Game Pass. Okay? So let's track the games. Let's just get into the middle of next year and talk about how they don't have to buy, and they haven't had to buy, Redfall, Starfield, Hi-Fi Rush, Forza Motorsport. You didn't have to buy Hellblade 2. You won't have to buy Indiana Jones, Stalker 2. You won't have to buy Avowed, okay? I want you to imagine buying all those games. I don't think a lot of people did. Why would you? Why would you buy some of the biggest titles, some of the bigger names? I mean, for goodness sakes, Diablo 4 hit Game Pass, okay? Black Ops 6. Let's add in Black Ops 6. That's the big one this year, right? That's 9 games that you don't have to buy. Okay? 9 games you don't have to buy. I'm not slamming anybody for doing that. I quite literally said, there's nothing wrong with doing that. You saw where there was value. You went to that value and you cashed in on it. So my point in my saying that was not to slam the people who haven't been buying games. It's that you actually have a distinct advantage. Seriously, track with me. One of the value points of Game Pass is that you can just leave it behind and go back later, and you've not really lost anything. Don't you see? If you're a Game Pass gamer, and you've primarily, I didn't say you didn't buy any games at all. I said, generally speaking, the people that I've been engaging with have really bragged about the fact that they live on Game Pass, okay? They live on Game Pass. They don't buy their games. They're excited to get games. You know, PlayStation guys are suckers. They make you pay for those games day one. We get all the first-party games day and date. Now, obviously, first-party's been, you know, not all that consistent for really, honestly, for either platform. But when you parade around that, like, first-party hits Game Pass, that's you establishing that, like, hey, I don't have to buy these first-party games. So, if you've been doing that, one of the value points that you can cash in right now with Game Pass is you can leave it. You can leave it behind. I canceled a bunch of my subscriptions just the other night. We were needing to sign up for, we were needing to adjust our Ring subscription so that we can now have it like recorded. So if anything happens, we have it documented, because there's been some stuff happening in the neighborhood, and I was like, all right, we've been meaning to do that with the Ring. We've been meaning to do that with the Ring so that we can see the recordings. So we upgraded it, and when I looked at the price, I was like, it's not super expensive, but let's check all of our subscriptions. So we canceled Netflix. I adjusted my Amazon Audible because I don't use the credits as often as I thought I was going to. So I lowered that to about half the cost of what I was paying. And then, like I said, we canceled Netflix to essentially cover the cost of, more than cover the cost of this thing. Oh, and then I canceled my Twitter Blue subscription, because who the frick cares about that garbage platform? So you can do the same thing. You can look at Game Pass and say, I don't really need this right now. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to take my loyalty elsewhere. Like, if you feel betrayed, that's the first thing you should do. The first thing you should do is adjust your allegiance if you feel betrayed. I would never stay with a platform. Now, again, I know that's difficult if you have a really, really big library. I resonate with that. I have a big Xbox library. And obviously it's still there for me if I turn on the Series X. But it's like, that's not really holding me there anymore, because the further distance I get, the more I say, yeah, I've not been buying games over there. So my library's just getting older and older and older. The value point of not having to buy games is great for my kids. It also worked the other way, where I played a game that was on Game Pass for a bit, and then I bought it, says English Show. John, always with the VIP, says, best value subscription service right here. Thank you so much. 2 members on the day. No surplus from last week. You guys started last week with surplus. And this week we're starting at the bottom. If you haven't upgraded to Member Plus, consider doing that. We've had more and more people do that, so thank you for those of you that have been upgrading. Owning a physical copy of a game takes the top priority for me. I just think that's just going to continue to be harder and harder to maintain, purchasing physical copies. Netflix for free with ads. I don't know if there's a free subscription with ads. I mean, maybe there's a new one. I was a long-standing customer, so I could have downgraded, but I still would have been paying money. And it was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to pay money and then also watch ads. I bought Persona 4 through 5 with a discount before. Okay, but here's the problem, El Unico. Here's the problem. You're not engaging with what I said. You're taking offense to a general statement that doesn't apply to you. For the last 4 years, a lot of the Xbox guys I've engaged with have literally celebrated the fact that they don't buy games. And my point was, if you're one of those people, did you hear that? If that's not you, then there's no reason to get upset. If you're one of those people who has been buying less games and primarily living off of Game Pass, there is nothing wrong with that. You saw value, you went to where the value was, and you cashed in. And if you become, like many, a consumer that feels betrayed, it's really easy to leave, because you're not leaving behind a library. You weren't building a library. You were just using a subservice. Like when I canceled Netflix, I wasn't like, oh, my Netflix library. It was like, no, I can always come back later. Yo, D-Tom with a VIP takes us to 3. Thank you so much, D-Tom. Eugene says, when we look at the platform splits in sales, Xbox routinely sells less than their market share. Ergo, Xbox users buy less games. Yeah, I mean, the sales ratios always tell the truth about that platform. Like, what did you expect to happen? You fostered a culture around the idea of subservice. So, yes, of course, they're thinking differently about buying games. There's nothing wrong with that. I always said that that was going to be bad long term because you were creating a culture and an ecosystem of people who think games are cheap and throwaway and disposable. Yo, D Dizzle with 37 months at a member plus takes us to 4 members on the day. Thank you guys so much for celebrating those renewals and continuing to support the channel. Zubair says, hit like, y'all. That's right. Hit like. Mash says, I assume most people who have Game Pass don't buy games on Game Pass, but many top games are third party and don't come to Game Pass, so you have no option but to buy them, like Baldur's Gate 3 or Elden Ring. Right. And that's where, that to me is a customer that I'm also speaking to, Mash. I also said, listen, if you have been building a library, if you have a sizable library with Xbox, I get it, bro. I have a sizable library with Xbox. I get it. It's frustrating. It's like if you feel betrayed and you feel like, man, they really aren't going the direction I wanted them to go, I get it. Totally get it. You feel like you have no choice but to just kind of stay put and hope things improve, because if not, you're turning your back on a huge library. This is why a lot of the PC Master Race guys are like, why would I ever go to console? Like, number one, they see it as stupid because of the power differences if they've heavily invested in their PC, but also they have a huge library. And a 20 bomb from MASH! He took a week off and he's back and he's swinging, and he got us 1 away from the 25, and then I will owe you 5. Somebody has got to help this man out. He takes a week off and we just come to a dead halt, boys. This is how we're able to do this full time. I'm able to do this full time because of the generosity of folks gifting, as well as those of you that upgrade. If you're like, man, I can't afford a membership, I keep asking folks to upgrade to make room for you. And MASH does the VIP renewal, says, what does this button do? It rounds us out for our first 25 of the week. Thank you so much, MASH. I have a huge Xbox library of discs and digital games. Buying the PS5 Pro to jump ship took a couple of weeks of internal debate. See, and that's the thing, English O. You should feel that. It stinks. It's not good. Like, nobody is sitting here. Now, I know there's probably people on Twitter, celebrating or whatever. Silver Subaru is the agent of chaos, and he gifts a member and pushes us past 25, setting us on the road to the next milestone, which would be 50. Currently, I owe you guys 5 members. Like, it should be a tough decision, right? Like, listen, I don't have a library on Netflix. It's just a subservice. And when I saw that I had been a subscriber to Netflix since 2016, it honestly made me hesitate for like half a second. I was like, oh, wow. I've had this for a long time. Do I really want to cancel it? But then I was like, we're not using it. Cancel it. We can always pick it back up. I can't imagine facing that decision if I actually had a library. Like, I still have my Series X. I didn't get rid of it. So at any moment in time, I still have access to that library. Angels with a $5 super chat says, Metaphor Game of the Year possibly. I said all last week, I kept telling people, I was like, the one game left that could change the Game of the Year conversation is Metaphor. And it's dropping with really, really high scores. Now, I don't know if it's going to hold. It might dip a little bit and land in like the 91, 92 range, which will likely get a Game of the Year nomination. Like, I don't have a whole lot of doubt about that. But I said, I was like, that game could change the conversation. Now, it currently only has 26 reviews. That's going to be its biggest challenge in beating Astrobot. That's 26 PlayStation reviews. It has, let's see here, 20, 43, 55. Across Xbox, PC, and PS5 on Metacritic has 55 reviews. Astrobot has 133 reviews on Metacritic. Beating that quantitatively is going to be a challenge for any game. So I think Metaphor just secured a Game of the Year nomination. Zero doubt in my mind about that. It just secured a Game of the Year nomination. But about what to win, it's going to need a lot more people to review it. So we'll have to check back on its quantity later in the week. So that's going to be its biggest challenge. We'll check OpenCritic and we'll check Metacritic later in the week to see if it has the quantity. So, because again, it's a voting process. And I've always said the jury process, if you secure a low to mid 90 score and you have hundreds of reviews, you have a distinct advantage in the contest because way more people played and reviewed your game, which means you're just naturally going to get more votes. So we'll see. But I think we just saw I think we're seeing one of the other games secure a spot in the nominations without a doubt. And I kept telling y'all. I kept saying that last week. I was like, that's going to be the game to change the conversation. It's going to walk in and get a great score. Belphegor with the 5 spot takes us to 29. He says, let's have a strong... I'm sorry, no, that's a 31. Sorry, 31. 31 members on the day. 20 away from 50. We'll see if anybody wants to match the man Mash with the 20 bombs. Is there the Game of the Year cutoff date, I believe, is typically like November the 15th, somewhere in there. So, but yeah, like, if you were facing that decision that English O just said he had to face, dude, I totally get it. If I was standing right now, if I would have been sitting in the market with my Series X and no other consoles, okay, and the PS5 Pro marketing hits, I'd have been like, that looks pretty good. Why? Because I love frames per second. And if I'm sitting on Series X, I'm thinking to myself, you've released a handful of 30 FPS games that got patched later. Avowed is going to launch at 30 FPS. So I have Stalker 2 and Indiana Jones to look forward to. Guess what those games are doing? They're coming to PlayStation later. We don't have the exact date for Indiana Jones yet, but we know Stalker's like a 3-month timed exclusive. Okay? So... And Hellblade 2, I would have played on my PC because of 60 FPS. So if I was a Series X only console guy, and I'm looking at the next big games to celebrate and to play are Stalker 2 and Indiana Jones, I'd be like, yeah, but those are coming to PlayStation rather quickly, and they're likely to be better on the Pro. They're almost assuredly going to be better on the Pro. A single gifted from Patrick Q. Thank you. And then, beyond that, if I had any doubts about where the best place to play these games would be, Rod Ferguson from Diablo walks out and says, hey, our game is going to be PS5 Pro enhanced. That's one of the biggest pieces of property in the market right now for Game Pass. Before Black Ops 6, Diablo 4 is like one of their biggest pieces of property that they brought to Game Pass from the acquisition. So if I'm sitting here as a Series X owner and I see that announcement from Diablo, I'm thinking to myself, I love frames per second. I love performance. And I can play those games on a PS5 Pro, and they're likely to be enhanced and be better. Would they play best on PC anyways? Untrue. They will only play best on stronger PCs, and they make up the smallest portion of the PC market. The vast majority of gamers on PC, if you go look at the hardware reports, the vast majority of PC gamers are not getting better performance. They're not than the Pro. No. It'll be significantly better than the vast majority of people in the PC landscape. Now, people at the upper end of PC could say, we're always going to get the best performance. Okay, sure, that's true. If that's where you want to go, then go. Go there. But think about what I'm saying. Yeah, Dragon Ball looks like it's landing in the mid-80s. That's good. So it looks like it's going to lose to Tekken. Like, that's what I'm saying, is that if I was sitting here on my Series X and I'm thinking about gaming in my living room, buying a plug-and-play device. I don't like playing games in the office. I do have a PC out there now that I have been using because I fell in love with Deep Rock Galactic Survivor and Witchfire. Now, keep in mind, I'm only doing that because I can't play those games on console. If I could play Deep Rock Galactic Survivor on console, I would. Same with Witchfire. I'm only doing that out of necessity. I didn't do that because I'm getting better performance. Do you track what I'm saying? Like, it's not like, oh, this all-in-one rig I bought for my wife 5 years ago for Borderlands 3 is such a powerhouse. I'm literally doing it because I don't have another choice. Fat Lump with the Member Plus renewal. Welcome back. So for me, the choice would be very difficult. It'd be very difficult. Only 17 reviews. Typically, your earliest reviews are an indication of where you're going to end up. It's been very rare for the review quantity to go up and the review score to go up. It typically either stays the same or goes down a little bit. A $10 super chat tip from Street Shadow. Huge fan of the Persona games. Metaphor will get a nom, but likely won't win. Persona 5 got a nom the year it came out, but it didn't win. Best RPG likely, but it will also have to battle between that and Final Fantasy VII. And then Jenny XA? What? What's that thing you've added to the middle? Anyway, Jenny! Thank you, Jenny. Getting you up there to 34 members on the week. Deep Rock Galactic's on Game Pass? No. Deep Rock Galactic Survivor. It's a completely different game. It's not Deep Rock Galactic. It's a Survivor game. It's a Survivor game in the universe of Deep Rock Galactic. So, yeah. I love Deep Rock Galactic. I have it on my PlayStation 5, and I played it with my wife and my son. But the Survivor game, sadly, is only on Steam right now. Which, given that they are, they have their games on console, I would imagine it'll eventually come as well. So, that would be a hard choice for me. If I was sitting there with a huge Xbox library and I was looking at the differences and I'm looking at the PS5 Pro, it would be tough. I'm telling you, that Diablo 4 announcement about being PS5 Pro enhanced, I think it would tip the scales. I'd be like, yeah, it's time to switch. Like English O said, he was internally battling and thinking about it and like, do I want to do this? Jen, there you go. It looks like your name fixed itself. You just said test and it looks right to me. Maybe you added like a nickname or something. If your PS5 bricked after 3 months, Sony would have replaced it. Somebody said their PS5 bricked after 3 months? Why wouldn't you get it replaced? It's still $700 plus a subscription? No, it's not. It's only plus a subscription if you need the online. Plenty of people don't do the online. Look at the actual subscription saturation versus the actual console saturation. There are plenty of people on PS5 right now who don't have the subscription, so that's not true. And if your PS5 bricked 3 months after you bought it, why didn't you get it replaced? New flight sim? I mean, I'm not interested in flight sim. I'm not saying that you need to feel the exact same way, okay? I'm empathizing with somebody in chat who wrestled with the decision to basically leave behind Xbox and get a Pro. In their mind, that's what they're doing. They're leaving Xbox behind. They're like, yeah, I'm going to the Pro. I'm going to primarily game on the Pro. That's a hard decision for people to make. Now, you might not make that decision. You might not make that decision. You might say, you know what? I'm good where I am. We've got Flight Sim, we've got Indiana Jones, we've got Stalker 2, and if you don't mind 30 FPS Avowed, you've got Avowed. Mine did. They wanted $350 to fix it. It was just out of warranty. Let's just do a little recap here. Let's just do a little recap. Make sure that we're properly understanding you. My PS5 bricked 3 months after I bought it. It was just out of warranty. So you're either not telling the truth or you bought from somebody else. Did you buy it from somebody else? You had a 1-year warranty. You weren't just out of warranty on 3 months. That's not true. The biggest knockback, Creature says they fixed his after 22 months. The biggest knockback some people have up against PlayStation is the focus on single-player games, so you don't need PS Plus. Yeah, I thought PlayStation only made single-player movie games. Why do you always assume I need PS Plus? I don't get that. Will Broke Boy Lewis with a $10 super chat tip says, Diablo DLC is scoring 85 for PC and the PS5, but only 80 for Xbox. I've read pretty much every review for all the platforms, and none mention performance, most just story characters. Why would Xbox score lower? I don't know, because they had to buy it. I'm kidding. I don't know. I have no idea. Why would Diablo's DLC score lower on Xbox versus PlayStation and PC? It's difficult to guess, you know. For me, it was very hard to leave behind my friends on Xbox and switch to PS5, but it was worth it. Yeah, you're leaving behind something, and that's the point, isn't it? The point is that you don't get to bring your friends with you. You don't get to bring your games with you. You're leaving behind something. You're either leaving behind your friends list or your library. They gave launch consoles an extra year if you registered it. The amount of people who will need PS Plus at some point or do will outweigh the ones that don't or don't need it. If you wanted to limit what games you have access to by not getting it, what you're saying is mathematically false, though. How many active? What's the MAU for PlayStation? Isn't it like 100 something million people? How many people are subscribed to PS Plus? I think what you're saying is mathematically false. How many people are subscribed to PS Plus? As of March 2023, PlayStation Plus had 47 million subscribers worldwide. So less than half of their monthly active users have it. So you're mathematically incorrect. No. Less than half of their monthly active users have PS Plus. So this is why people assuming, oh no, if you get a PlayStation, you're just automatically signing up for PS Plus. Why? It sounds to me like 60 to 65% of the user base doesn't use PS Plus, making that argument completely defunct. It's like, what do you mean? The majority of PlayStation users don't have it. The majority of the PlayStation user base doesn't have it. Do you want to know why? You don't need it for Warzone, and a lot of them are just playing Warzone. You don't need it for Fortnite, or you don't need it for Apex. A lot of the people who gravitate towards the online games, they don't even need PS Plus. And then if you gravitate towards the single-player games, you also don't need PS Plus. The majority of the MAUs, the monthly active users of PlayStation, don't even have it. The majority. So no, it's not like, well, most people are going to need it or most people are going to feel like they need to sign up for it. It's actually quite the opposite. The majority haven't signed up for it. FCat says you're pretty dumb to abandon the entire ecosystem. Why not own both consoles? Well, here's the problem, FCat. I think to certain people, that's what they feel like they have to do because they're not in the position to maintain two ecosystems. Yeah, Jen is saying it. They can't afford both. Some people are like, bro, I can't afford both. If I go PlayStation, they're going to sign up for, the tier of PS Plus they can afford to get a regular occurrence of games, and then they're going to buy a couple of games a year. That's what they're going to do. Like they're not. I'm telling you, a lot of people don't feel like they can maintain two ecosystems. They're like, I can't do both. If I go PlayStation, they're going to shut everything with Xbox off. They're going to shut off Game Pass. They're going to sell their Xbox. They're going to sell their controllers. Yeah, look how many people in chat are telling you they can't afford both. They're like, I wish I could afford both. Yeah, that's why I've always clapped back to people like, you're out here port begging. I'm like, I don't have to port beg. I own all the systems. You're calling me something that's not even factually accurate. Like, I can play whatever I want. And I've always tried to own the fact that that is a unique privilege. It's like, I do this for a living, and then I can make... Those are all business expenses if I do anything in that realm. And that's not a privilege the average consumer has. They have to pick one place to plant their flag. This is why you should feel betrayed. That's why I made the video about Xbox and the PS5 Pro, and I opened it up and I was like, there's a famous saying that the saddest part about betrayal is it never comes from your enemies. It always comes from the people that you trust the most. And there's a lot of people who placed their faith and their trust in Xbox this gen, and they kept spitting in my face last year, and I was like, I'm on your side. I'm trying to tell you, this platform is not doing what they promised. It's not giving you what they promised you. It's not giving you what's good for you either. Like, yes, Game Pass is nice, but like, where are the games? Where's the innovation? Where's the power? Where's the next gen? And a lot of people have spent the last 10 months of 2024 slowly coming to the realization that, yeah, I don't really feel like they're going to do all those things they said they were going to do. So, like, I get where you're coming from, FCAT. It's like, yeah, just buy all the systems. But for some people, that's like saying, you know, if you're having a hard time getting to work because your wife needs the car sometimes, why don't you just buy a second car? They're going to look at you like you've sprouted a second head. They're like, buy a second car? They're like, what am I? What am I, a millionaire? They're like, I can't do that. You don't get to use them as business expenses if you use them also for not business. Like, you can't play them on your personal time for no business. Otherwise, that's fraud. No. Go research that before even typing something that stupid, Solemn. No. If you buy something for business and you also then use it for personal, like if you buy office space and you rent the office space, right? And your wife comes in to have lunch with you and it's not a business lunch, right? You can't be like, oh, well, you need to get a stopwatch and record the amount of time that you were doing something in your office, not business oriented, or it's fraud. Like, what you're saying is bewilderingly stupid. That's not how it works, bro. Like, you can buy something for the business and it also can then be used for personal use. That's not how that works. Now, if I bought a car and claimed it as a business expense and never used it for the business and just like gave it to my wife, well then sure, you could be like, that's fraudulent. You didn't buy that for the business. I mean, you put a question mark, but it seemed like you were insinuating that's how it worked. That's not how it works. No. Also, I would always be able to argue business impetus. I wouldn't have bought these things otherwise. I bought them primarily for the business. That's what their purpose is there for. Like 2 PlayStations, a PS5 Pro, DualSense Edge, PS5, the PSVR 2. Those are all things I would have probably not purchased devoid of being a business. I would have bought the PS5 by itself, but that's probably it. Yeah, we have a Discord you can join, Frank. The link's in the description. Buying it for a business and claiming it as a write-off for the business expense for tax purposes is not the same thing. Hang on a second. I'm going to... No, still hurts. Still hurts. Moving on. Before we get any more bad advice here. Yo, what's good, Croko? How are you? The point is that if you go to PlayStation, you don't have to sign up for PS Plus. I think a lot of people would. But you don't have to. You could just go over, like, seriously, you could probably go get a PS5 Pro and only play the backlog of single-player games, and it would take a long time before you felt like, maybe I should sign up for PS Plus. Right? Like, it would be a long time before you would feel the need to do it. If you play through the backlog of single-player games that await you. Like, let's just say you've never played any of the games. A lot of people that are getting into PS5 have never played the games, right? They've not played any of the games. So they're going to come in and be like, Horizon Zero Dawn Remaster, give me that. Death Stranding, give me that. Horizon Forbidden West, give me that. Ratchet, Returnal, Demon's Souls Remake, God of War 2018, God of War Ragnarok, Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut, Spider-Man. You could literally play all 3. Spider-Man Miles Morales, Spider-Man 2. And then get to the third-party stuff. Get to the non-first party, the second and third-party stuff. Stellar Blade, Helldivers, Rise of the Ronin, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. You're going to be busy. Oh, I said Helldivers. Take that back. Take Helldivers out of the list. You're going to be busy. Astrobot, If you played all of those games to completion, you'd be unless you're like a full-time play every day for 10 hours a day gamer, that would keep you pretty busy before you would even need PS Plus. That's a lot of dadgum games. I didn't say Gran Turismo because you do need PS Plus for Gran Turismo, and I took Helldivers out of the list. I didn't mean to include Helldivers. That's a lot of stinking games. You don't need PS Plus. Don't forget Returnal and Ratchet. Did I not say Returnal and Ratchet? I feel like I did. Yo, Octavio Cruz with a whole year of memberships bumps the line to 35. Thank you so much. Why assume we're only paying for the online PS Plus? It gives 3 games per month, so you actually get real value out of it, not just online. That's a whole other thread of it, sure, Octavio, but what they try to... It's not about the value. What they're trying to argue is, well, I don't have to pay for online, and you do. You know what's funny is, a lot of these guys on Steam that sing the praises of Steam and the library of Steam, and they sing the praises of, like, that freedom that they have, they don't even play online games. They're playing, like, indie titles. Like, I don't need online to play Witchfire. I don't need online to play Deep Rock Galactic Survivor. So my lack of needing to pay for online, it doesn't even affect my experience on Steam 9 times out of 10. Let's just look at the games I've been recently playing on Steam. We played a bunch of board games the other night. Brotato, Death Must Die, Deep Rock Galactic Survivor, Witchfire. Like, prior to that, all the Jackbox games require it. God of War Ragnarok, I showed that one off to you guys. Cuphead, Elden Ring, Escape Simulator, Hellblade 2, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, Hades 2. These are all games that, like, I don't even need online to play anyway. So not needing to pay for online isn't even benefiting most of the games I play in my Steam library. A $5 super chat from Street Shadow. With Metaphor's likely high reviews, do we think Xbox marketing deal will make the player ratio higher on Xbox? I say PlayStation will still be higher. Yeah, the general trend of market saturation is going to make it impossible for there to be more Xbox players in Metaphor. I don't think that's even remotely possible. They don't have enough consoles to even compete. And then I also don't think their user base will gravitate to a game like Metaphor as strongly as the user base on PlayStation will. Brian M. with 20 months. You don't need PlayStation Plus for Gran Turismo unless you race online. Oh, I might have been misinformed. When we talked about this last week, Brian, I was told that it's required to play Gran Turismo. So maybe I was given bad information. Nitro Fusion says, I subbed to Xbox Live for a long time, many years, and I stopped for a few years, and my last subscription upgrade to Game Pass Ultimate to 2 years for a while and didn't see the point afterwards. Cheating is a marketable market for gaming. Yeah, I've not done a lot of coverage on that. Luke's deceiving because I'm not in that world. I'm not like a PvP guy, but I have talked about how there's an economy of cheating that's incredibly difficult to deal with. It seems like Garrett with the Member Plus renewal. Thank you so much. It seems like the best course of action a lot of these companies are taking is they're going after the businesses that distribute the cheats. I owe you guys 5 members. I'm going to gift them now. We're well on our way to being on pace for this week. We missed the weekly goal last week. We keep losing our streak, but 100 a day usually sets us on pace, and every 25 I gift 5. There we go. Garrett Green says, red badge, let's go. Best thing about PC, open platform. Worst thing about PC is open platform. Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about cheating, for sure, that seems to be where the lion's share happens. But in the discussion of like PC versus PlayStation, I find it incredibly weird that the vast majority of games I see people playing on Steam or parading around on Steam or celebrating on Steam, you don't need online. So you're like, well, I don't have to pay for online. You don't even need an online service or a friends list or any of that. You're not even playing multiplayer games a lot of the times. Thank you for correcting that. Way too much representation in the gaming community. I thought that you needed... Do you not need PS Plus to play Gran Turismo? Let's see. Do I need PS Plus for GT7. Oh, is GT7 still worth it if I don't have PS Plus? So I don't have PS Plus and I enjoy playing GT7, this person says. Okay, well, then we get to add that one to the list. That's another game on the list. Isn't it weird to compare like Steam and PlayStation at that point then? It's like you're constantly celebrating the fact that you don't have to pay for online, but then you're playing games that don't need online. And then there are the vast majority of people in the PlayStation ecosystem don't even have PS Plus. Not the vast majority, the majority don't have PS Plus. I was talking about you. I was talking about chat. Oh, but I said that, Corey. I said you need PS Plus to play Gran Turismo 7 because somebody told me that last week. They said, no, it's required for GT7. And I guess they were incorrect. They do go after the companies who make the cheats, but they do not vet it for pro majors. I don't think Xbox has the marketing here. I don't think Xbox has the marketing for Metaphor because PlayStation just tweeted about it. Being connected to the internet is required. PS Plus is not, except for multiplayer. Yeah, what's interesting is if you want to use Steam to get games downloaded to your computer, then you need internet as well. So yes, there are plenty of games that require internet. Like, that's, if anybody tries to use that as a negative, it's like you can't even engage with the Steam marketplace without the internet. You're paying for an internet provider. Beyond that, you don't need to pay for anything else. And beyond that, the majority of PlayStation users aren't paying for anything else either. I can live without PS Plus, but they require it for Destiny 2, a free game. That's weird. Why do they require it for Destiny? Destiny's been free to play for a long time. That's not supposed to apply. If it's a free-to-play game, you're not supposed to need PS Plus. Why is Destiny an exception to that rule? I know, yeah, games like Fortnite and Apex and Warzone, but it feels like the Destiny thing is a glitch. That should not be happening. You shouldn't have to pay for Plus if you're playing Destiny. Because all of Destiny is not free. Oh, because it's like piecemeal? You don't need it for Destiny 2? People in chat are saying they need it for Destiny 2 to play PvP. Destiny's not true free to play. Yeah, it's almost like free to try. Like, here's some of the game. It's kind of a weird amalgamation of free to play. I guess that's true. You only need it for the expansion? No, people in chat are saying something very different. The people that are saying it, I would trust that they're telling me the truth, that you do need it. Paying to play multiplayer games on console has been a thing since Xbox Live was invented. I don't think it's the sick burn that PC gamers act like it is. Well, and as Ottavio pointed out when he re-upped his membership, you're not just paying for online on PS Plus. You're getting other things. Like, if Steam came out with something like that where you could subscribe and get an allotment of games every month, I mean, people would do that. They'd be like, hey, that's great. I've gotten to try, over the years between Game Pass and PS Plus, I've gotten to try so many games. There's always something in there for me to try out and play. It's funny, you don't need PS Plus to play Final Fantasy 16 on PS5. Well, because that's not a first-party game. Mash says, I think I just don't care. You do what you want with your money and I will too. Only thing I need from them is the info to decide on the decision itself. I assume I make the better decision for me. Yeah, Destiny 2 is free to try like WoW. Do you guys think that the Halo Unreal 5 engine announcement, do you think that signals multiplat? I'm also seeing people act like, oh, since they're rebranding the Halo Studios, they're getting rid of all the 343 guys. A lot of the veterans were in that announcement video, so I don't think that you're correct in saying that. I don't think 343 is like disappearing into the ether. Now, they could restructure some of the leadership, but I think they wanted to get rid of the name 343 because it had just gone through so much bad press. They go with Halo Studios. William Brokeboy Lewis with a $10 super chat tip says, on search, players without PS Plus can play any of the expansion campaigns that they have purchased. Need a PlayStation Plus sub to play anything that requires other players, such as strikes, raids, PvP modes, and dungeons. Okay. You just rage quit. No, I was opening the door. 343 has bad rep now. I saw a lot of people saying that the switch to UE5, they were like, yeah, it's going multi-plat now. Interestingly enough, Tom Warren seems to know something. He's at least signaling he might know something. FCAT with a month of Member Plus. Xbox doesn't need a subscription at all for Destiny 2. Takes us to 37. Thank you so much for renewing. That's weird. So they don't require it all on Xbox. Not even for PvP. There's no way Microsoft is dabbling in multiplat with so many other games, but not their most valuable property. They want money, not exclusives. My logic on it was pretty simple, Brett. Guys, could we take a quick second and try to get 300 likes? We're an hour into the broadcast. Another killer turnout for this new format. This format is for you. If you're like, I don't care about PS5 Plus, or I don't care about Halo. There's all kind of gaming news going on, so we're not drilled down on one topic for the entirety of the live show. So feel free to ask me questions, bring up other topics, but we do need to see that like count get up. That does help the video. So we're an hour in. Let's hit 300, get that good ratio. If you haven't become a member or upgraded or gifted, consider doing that as well. It supports me directly, and we do have that goal every week. It unlocks fun stuff for Friday night. We'll make Madam play Silent Hill 2 on Friday night. My logic on this was simple, Brett. If Microsoft is investing, if they're investing in Halo, the studio, switching engines, it's going multi-plat. They're not going to invest money in doing that and then making it an exclusive. Yeah, I saw the metaphor reviews, Flynn. You can't use the question command because you're not a member. That's a member-only perk. But yeah, I told people last week it would probably be changing the Game of the Year discussion. Like, it's going to join the list of Game of the Year nominations. I don't think it'll beat Astrobot. I don't think it'll get enough reviews quantitatively because, again, it's a voting process, so I don't think it's going to have enough quantity, but it's going to have a high enough score to get a nomination. It'll likely land in other categories. It'll potentially win other categories as well. Could 11/11 be the day? So during HCS, there's a Halo Master Chief Collection celebrating 10 years on November 11th of 2024. So yeah, they might do something. They might do something in like about a month. Very possible. Microsoft is either playing two games. Third party is the way, but why not announce it? Or the second is to recoup this gen with multi-plat. Try exclusives again next gen. No. I don't see them trying again with exclusivity. Think about everything they've been saying. Think about everything they've been saying. When everybody plays, we all win. Every screen is an Xbox. How could they possibly walk that back in 4 years and be like, no, yeah, we're trying exclusives again? I just think that the market would laugh and be like, what the frick are you doing? You can't spend the next 3 years, 4 years, however long, putting all your property everywhere and then try to shore that back and be like, oh yeah, we're switching. I just don't think that's even remotely possible. I wish they would have done that this gen. I wish they would have invested in their studios, only done the Series X, and came out with just absolute banger next gen titles, and they didn't do it. A lot of their upcoming games are in UE5. Looks like Microsoft is moving their first parties to UE5. Okay, hang on a second. Okay, so we've got now Halo confirmed to be UE5. Ryan Hare with a VIP renewal. Takes us to 38 members on the week. Thank you so much. Halo's UE5 Gears, we know. Avowed switched to UE5 at some point, didn't it? It's UE5. Outer Worlds, State of Decay 3, Clockwork Revolution, Perfect Dark, South of Midnight. That is a lot of games switching to UE5. And if they have the coalition assisting all of them, it could lead to good things. My biggest concern and my biggest worry is that they basically... My biggest concern, my biggest worry is they don't get rid of the 18-month contractual policy of like, if you hit 18 months, you got to walk out the door, you got to leave. That's my biggest concern for Halo. You can switch to the best technology in the world. If you hobble your studio with bad corporate policy, it ain't going to matter. If ponies don't care about Halo or Gears, these games will be hits on PlayStation. And a single gifted from Ryan. He takes us to 39. I thought that was rounding us out to 40. I was ready to round us out. I think the exclusivity is case by case basis from what Matt Booty is saying, but we don't know what Microsoft higher ups are up to. What did Matt Booty say, and how recently did he say it? What are you referring to, Steven? I need to know, like, was it an interview with somebody, or are you thinking of something he said in the past? Because Jason Schreier just did an interview with Lucy James, and he was like, nobody knows what Xbox is doing in the future. He's like, even the higher up at Xbox don't know. Alfonso rounds us out, and Ryan Hayer does one to push us past 41. We're 9 away from 50. A 10 bomb would be an agent of chaos, but he's going to do a 20 bomb because MASH is a madman, and he takes us to 61. He needs a tag team champion. This guy has just been all over the member count. He takes 1 week off, and we can't hit the goal. You guys need to help this man out. The Halo UE5 presentation looked like a couple high schoolers playing with toys. I think they were just showing that it's possible. I don't think they were like saying, oh, this is a finished product. They're like, this is just a tech demo to show you what's possible. Good little clip. It's been years and practically every Unreal Engine game on PC still stutters like crazy. The PS5 Pro is a sweet spot for playing the Unreal games. Yo, Fonso jumps back in as a VIP and takes us to 62. Guys, if you have a standard membership, you need to upgrade to Member Plus or VIP. You get into the green room. It's where we chill. It's where I play games. And I count it as 2. Also, take a quick second. It's free to do this. Smash that like button. Let's hit 300 likes. Steven says, I'm referring to what he said between spring and summer this year. Between spring and summer? That feels like ancient history at this point, Steven. I'll be honest with you. That feels like ancient history, brother. That's before the summer. Like, look at everything that's transpired since. You've got rumors about some of the biggest property going, and now you've got Diablo 4 is going to be PS5 Pro enhanced. I don't know, man. Anthony Robinson says, can't gift, but I do what I can. Dude, a Member Plus is like gifting every month. I mean it. Oops. Let me cancel. A Member Plus membership is literally, that's like gifting a membership every single month. Because you're ensuring that somebody gets a membership instead of you. You're like, I'll pay for my own. You're basically gifting a member every month, bro. My favorite audio clip from Grindhouse is the "Oh no, we suck again." Halo on UE is a nightmare come true. Here's why I don't agree with anybody saying that. They were internally testing this out and saw good results. They were internally testing Halo in Unreal, and they decided to switch. Slipspace wasn't it. Like, listen, Paul, I get where you're coming from. You're like, we just lost another in-house engine. Who cares if it's not good? Slipspace wasn't a good engine for all intents and purposes. Look how slow it took them to make simple changes. They couldn't do the most simple things. Not sure I trust their judgment. You want to know what I think happened? What was the name of the company? We need to go back in time a little bit, take a little journey, little story time. Certain Affinity, I believe, was the name of the company, wasn't it? Allegedly working on the Battle Royale, okay? Rumors started floating around that they had built that in Unreal. My theory has always been that Certain Affinity goes to 343 and says, look at what we can do with Unreal. And the guys at 343 got jealous and they started tinkering around with Unreal, and now they've decided to switch engines. That's what I think happened. I think Certain Affinity said, you guys, your game in Unreal can be a match made in heaven. And if the Coalition can come in and assist, because according to John Linneman from Digital Foundry, the Coalition are magicians with Unreal. They're going to get UE5 and Gears, the next Gears game, into a really nice spot. So I'm not going to sit here and act like 343's got a great history, but what if the entire time they have been dealing with two problems that aren't really their fault? They've been dealing with an engine that's not good, and they've been dealing with a contractual policy that has murdered their institutional knowledge. How could you ever expect 343 to do anything with this slow, arduous aircraft carrier of an engine? They can't make any quick changes. They can't. And former 343 employees are like, one of the leading causes of problems that led to the state of Halo Infinite is because we were watching people leave every 18 months. What? That's a Microsoft issue. That's it. And then you got to think about the engine. The engine, they couldn't make the most basic changes. It was like, yeah, we can't do that. What do you, Fortnite's pushing out meta-changing patches like every other week. The UE engine's agile. Now, again, I'm not saying it's perfect. But it's agile. They can do good things with the Unreal Engine. Guys, quickly double check and make sure you've given that like a press. We've been having some issues with YouTube act squirrely again, and I don't know if it's saving your likes. 343 built Slipspace. They quite literally delayed Infinite due to them recreating the engine. That was 343's baby, and it failed for them. Okay, but was that something that they were tasked with doing? Hey, get that engine up and going. We want you using a first-party engine. We don't want to do anything with Unreal. It seems like there was a shift in policy. If you have all these games switching to Unreal, it's almost like there was a hesitancy of like, no, let's use our own in-house engine, which there's reasons to use your own in-house engine. I mean, if you're Insomniac, they're basically like the wizards of the gaming world. And then you got Decima looking amazing for Forbidden West, Zero Dawn Remaster, and Death Stranding 2. There's certainly good reasons. I mean, I would even say the Red engine from CD Projekt Red for Cyberpunk has proven itself to be an impressive engine, so much so that I don't even think CD Projekt Red's going to stay in Unreal. They said all future projects Unreal 5. I think they've even walked that back. I think they realized we could do a lot with the Red engine. So to me, yes, I don't like the idea of losing in-house engines, but for goodness sakes, you know, you've got to figure out a way to get a more agile engine going. Now, on my video about Xbox and the PS5 Pro, we've got some comments. I should have read these. This is from an hour ago. Raphael McCoy says, I'll tell you what I think Xbox fans need to understand, that purchasing that much property, it would only make sense if you're not going to market your own hardware correctly like the competition. Therefore, to me, it's their play anyhow great video. Thanks. Appreciate that. Sega has announced that an Alien Isolation sequel is in the early development stages at Creative Assembly. That'll make a lot of people happy. I've heard that people worry about engine changes because the feel of Halo might be off, but Halo hasn't felt like Halo since Bungie left. Halo Infinite felt great, excuse me, for infantry combat, but the vehicles are jank and they don't feel right. Hoping UE5 gives them more time to nail this down. Listen, I'm going to say the thing that the Halo guys, they hate this every time I say this, but Unreal 5 is the perfect time to make Halo feel like a different game. Like, honor the past, but it's time to stop making another. Don't just make another Halo. I swear, if the next Halo looks, smells like, feels like Halo, and the weapons are the same, and the enemies are the same, I don't care. I don't. It's time for the reboot. It's time for the soft reboot. I think you need to do it. UE5's the best time to do it. You know what they can do? They can kind of do what Assassin's Creed did. They can hand the Combat Evolved remaster or remake or whatever you want to call it. They can hand that to the fans and say, hey, we love ya. We appreciate ya. But this is what you get. Because we got to get more people in this franchise. And the way to get more people in this franchise is not just another Halo. I know you longtime Halo fans are already, you're already typing. You're like, you can't do that. It won't be Halo. They tried that with Halo 5. No, they didn't. Like Walter White says in Breaking Bad, no more half measures. No more half measures. It is time to do what they did with Doom. Go play Doom 2016. That's the level of change you need. You need to honor where you've come from so that you know, yeah, this is another Doom, but it needs to feel and look completely differently. It can't be just another Halo. If you've got the same hardcore Halo fans and the same hardcore Halo pros jumping and using the sniper rifles and using the same weapons and the maps and the enemies, and it all feels the same, it's like, yeah, that'll be as dead as a doornail. No one will care. They won't. There is something special about Halo, but you can't say that it's aged well, because it hasn't aged well. Every time I've talked about this or made a video about this, the Halo guys come after me, and it's like, okay, fine. If they give you what you want, you'll drag the franchise into the bottom of the ocean, squeezing the life out of it, saying, oh, I love Halo. It feels like Halo, while it just dies a slow death and nobody pays any attention to it. Everybody that likes Halo has decided that they like Halo. Everybody that doesn't like Halo has decided they don't like Halo. Just another Halo wouldn't achieve anything. It'd be like, okay, it was a cool new story. It was a pretty memorable story, but the minute you get into the PvP and the minute you, or again, the weapons and the enemies, like if it all feels exactly the same, it's like, why'd you even bother doing this? Change the weapons? Change everything. Change everything. I want you to look at how Doom took every weapon from the original and then evolved it and upped it and said, this is the new interpretation of that. That's what you need to do. Take the AR, for an example. The, whatever they call it, the assault rifle, the thing that shoots full auto. I don't even know what the names of a lot of the weapons are, because I'm not a Halo guy. All I know is the co-op campaigns were fun. I played through, I think, 1, 2, and a couple others with, like, my siblings. But I was never a big Halo guy. I just thought the campaigns were fun because you could play them with another person. We also loved playing Time Splitters co-op. We just liked co-op shooters. It's why I fell in love with Borderlands, right? You take those weapons, you take your battle rifle, and you say, how can we make this so much more and so much more modern and better than what it's been? But when you hold it and you look at it, you can sense what we've done. When you hold and you use weapons in Doom, you know what they've done. You're like, yeah, I know what this is. This is tethered to the past, but it's not bound to it. I've always talked about the difference there. It's like, it's one thing to tether your game to the past, to nostalgically build on that. It's another thing to, like, bind your game to the past. It's like, no, it's got to look and feel like Halo. I mean, if you do that, you might as well not even bother making the game, because you're going to do the same thing. You're just going to appeal to the same hardcore audience, and everybody else is going to turn their nose up to it. Brooklyn Breed left a comment on my video. I've said it before. I do not trust Xbox going forward when it comes to hardware. I don't see how anyone can. Agreed. The real Destiny killer. That's right. One possible response to the announcement of updated hardware, Series X already has a powerful foundation, so an incremental upgrade like a Series X Pro could be on the table. This will allow them to offer gamers solid performance enhancements. Another factor, pricing strategy. The Series S makes the Series X Pro almost impossible. I don't see that ever happening. I really don't. The Series S makes that impossible. If there's no exclusives on Xbox, then I don't see a reason to stay on Xbox anymore, says Ryan Hayer, especially if all the games are going to the stronger platform. That's exactly the point. That's exactly the point. Raven Team Charlie says, hear me out. Sarah Barnes said the largest technological leap. She also said every screen is an Xbox. Would it be far-fetched to think that she may be referring to the PlayStation 5 Pro rather than the new iteration of Xbox? Absolutely not what she meant. They will have their own hardware. Yeah, that's not what she was referring to. No. I mean, that's obviously very creative. That's a creative read on what Sarah Bond said, but no, Xbox is going to have some type of future hardware, and she was referring to whatever it is. John always says, Sony releasing their Pro Dev Kits to Xbox game developers is interesting. It is. Consider this. Right? Consider this. During the FTC trial, it was argued that, PlayStation was worried they would get inferior versions of Xbox games on their console, and there was assurances given that they would always try to, sort of tap the most, right? There were statements that created a precedence that Xbox games would need to bring their best efforts regardless of platform. So, it stands to reason their best efforts would be, man, we got to tap into the PS5 Pro enhancements. Let's get that PS5 Pro enhanced label. Let's go. Let's go, boys. Do you see? To me, they're saying, listen, why would we not do that? Let me ask you a question. What's better for Xbox games, Xbox property? What's better? To land on the Pro and get the Pro enhancements and be able to brag about how great your game looks across a series of platforms? Or you ignore the PS5 Pro and you don't get to do what other developers are doing? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, if Microsoft is leaning into publishing, wouldn't you want your games and your publishers to look good in the market? You're not going to look good in the market if other third-party publishers are showing off, hey, man, that PS5 Pro is kind of awesome. Look at what we did. You're trying to prove to the public, to your shareholders, to gamers that, like, hey, our development teams are good. Our publishing, we publish great games. We have developers that know how to leverage new technology. You can't ignore what PS5 Pro is doing if you want to lean into publishing. You're going to look stupid. You're going to have all these games coming out that are gunning for that PS5 Pro enhanced label because that's just an extra push to marketing. That's just one more video getting made about your content. That's just one more tweet. That's just one more article saying, oh man, this game looks incredible on the PS5 Pro. That's going to drive sales of your game. If you're in the business of selling games, then ignoring the Pro would be a dumb thing to do. That's just more people potentially buying your games or paying attention to you. And then that adds brand confidence. Man, those Xbox published games, dude, they know what they're doing over there. They did some cool stuff over here. Nobody with a 5 gifted bomb takes us to 68. Rob V with a gifted 5. We got a gifted member train potentially starting 2 5s back to back and takes us all the way to 73. I still owe you guys 5, so when we hit 75, I will owe you 10. Thank you guys so much for a strong start to the week. You had no surplus, and you're like, we don't need one. We'll get started on our own. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel like that and helping grow the community. Silent Spartan left a comment on the upload. Guys, always make sure and do that. Xbox and the PS5 Pro upload. Go check it out. Leave a like, leave a comment. He says, Xbox just feels rudderless at the whim of the tides and the wind. Ultimately, I think that they need to sit down with Microsoft leadership and chart a course forward, whether it's straight up publishing or trying to recapture a slice of the market. Publishing is the way. They just don't want to say it out loud. And a 5-bomb from MASH keeps the train going and takes us to 78. Thank you so much, MASH. 3 5-bombs in a row. Let's see how many we can get. Publishing is the way. I just don't think they want to say it out loud. I don't think they want to say it out loud. I really don't. From where I sit, it's like that's what they're doing. The reason Jason Schreier can say even the people up top at Xbox don't know what's going on, they don't know what the plan is. Let me ask you guys a question. Do you want to know why all of those Xbox insiders got things so incredibly wrong this year? If you're an Xbox insider and you for the last year have been like, hey man, my sources say this, my sources say that, your batting average is really bad all of a sudden. Do you want to know why their batting average is bad all of a sudden? Because all of their sources are going off of old information. Microsoft kicked the door in and said, listen, I'm the captain now. This is what we're doing. This is the way forward. And they're all scrambling to figure out what that means for their projects, their studios, their vision casting to everybody that they just told months ago. Like Phil Spencer sends an email. He's like, all future ZeniMax properties exclusive. And now they're like, well, actually not. So that's why nobody knows what's going on. That's why all the Xbox insiders are seemingly completely in the dark, because Microsoft kicked the door in. Butter says, you're missing the point in that. They have to use the full potential, meaning you will have to launch your game at 60 FPS because that's what the Pro can do. Meaning maybe we see the end of console parity, getting the S version at 30 and 60. Well, I don't necessarily know if parity is a concern anymore for the Series S. I just don't think it's a concern. They let a third-party game come to their platform without feature parity. Baldur's Gate 3 will never have split screen on the S. They just gave up. Like, yeah, I'm good. We're not doing that. If you let a third-party company do that, then it stands to reason that you're going to have your first-party studios making the games run awesome everywhere. They're not going to give a rip. I don't think they even care anymore about that. I don't. I really, really don't. Yeah, your favorite weeb, you don't need to keep bringing up another creator. I genuinely don't care about other people making videos about me, homie. You don't need to keep bringing that up. Nobody's engaging with you on the subject, and there's a reason. We don't care about any of that. We just ignore it. Okay, never mind. People are missing my point and context about the fact competition is better for us consumers. We don't want to spend over 1K on a PlayStation 6 next generation. Listen, I think hardware costs are going to go up no matter what. I don't think, like, if the PlayStation 6... I've already speculated the PlayStation 6 is going to be incredibly expensive, mainly because I just think hardware prices are going to keep going up. I told people, like, prepare for it to be about $1,000. And people are like, there's no way. You know, it's... To me, I think hardware prices are going to keep going up, and I don't think it's in direct relation to the fact that, you know, Xbox is bowing out of the console fight. I don't think they're bowing out of hardware, but I definitely think Xbox is bowing out of the console fight. Does that make sense? Like, they're going to have hardware. So I don't think that means that PlayStation walks into the market and is like, well, we can charge whatever we want now. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there's still a breaking point in the market, homie. You can only charge so much for something before it starts to create depreciating returns. You're like, wow, we've amassed right now they have what, 100 to 130 MAUs, monthly active users. Maybe that goes up over the next couple of years because they get some, new user acquisition from Xbox, some new user acquisition from PC, okay? They're going to get some. We don't know the degree of what, but right now, 30% of the people on a PlayStation 5 didn't even own a PS4. That's pretty good new user acquisition, right? So it stands to reason their MAU could potentially go up over the next couple of years. If that happens for PlayStation, the last thing they're going to want to do is usher in the next gen with a price point that creates terrible conversion for them. Do you understand? Like, I don't think you can say, well, there's no Xbox, there's no alternative, so we can do whatever we want. No, they kicked the crap out of Xbox last gen, and they did it this gen, and it's nothing to do with price. It's because, no, actually, to say it another way, it does have something to do with the price. If they would have come into this market and been like, we're the clear market leader, Xbox doesn't stand a chance. I mean, look at what Xbox did. As proof of what I'm saying, Xbox had the Series S this gen. It didn't even cause a blip on the radar. It didn't cause a bit of change. So I don't think PlayStation's going to take that as a signal of like, oh, well, yeah, we can totally charge whatever we want next gen. What would PlayStation need to deliver to gamers and devs that makes 1,000 an easy yes? I think they'd need to be able to make a claim that they're better than virtually every pre-built you find in the consumer level markets of like Best Buy, Target, and Amazon. If they're able to, and I don't know if they would ever do this, Ginger. I don't know if they would ever walk out and invoke PC in their marketing. But if it became crystal clear that the PlayStation 6 was far and away better than your consumer level pre-built rigs on Amazon, Target, and Best Buy, then no one would bat an eye. They'd be like, yeah, $999's fine. PC, equivalent PCs are almost double that. That's what they'd need to be able to compel people with. Like, personally, my theory about PlayStation and what they're trying to do, I actually think they're trying to enter into that market and say, you don't need that. We're stronger, we're better, we're more affordable. Which to me then makes the PS6 land somewhere in the 800 to 1,000 lane. The PS6 will be mass produced, costs are lower as a result, so its price will likely be lower than the Pro. Yeah, there are people that disagree with me, Eugene. They don't think that the PS6 will be more expensive than the Pro. Yeah, there are people that disagree with me. I think with inflation and whatever's going on with the yen, I don't know if Sony and PlayStation are going to be able to get out from underneath of that. I think they're going to have a higher price point for it. I'm an economist. I guarantee my number range is closer than anything you think. What's your number range? It's not going to be 1,000. Y'all forget that in 2006 the PS3 released for 600, then in 2014 for 400. Then look at 400 for the PS6. 400? No. PlayStation's posture right now, they're posturing like they're Apple. I don't think you posture like Apple and lower your prices on your next console. No. PlayStation is walking around like the cock of the walk. They're like, listen, our mid-gen refresh is 700. Shut the frick up. We don't care. Yeah, there's no disk drive. Yeah, there's no vertical stand. Shut up. Like, they don't care. They're literally posturing like Apple. When they literally unified the PlayStation SKU, they took the vertical stand out of the box. Like, that's Apple. That's what Apple does. Apple raises the price and gives you less. You don't get a charging cube in the box anymore. You get a cable. I am telling you right now, PlayStation is not posturing as if the PlayStation 6 will be lower. If anything, it will be higher. I can't see it being less than 800. I can't. It's like, what? They're not posturing as a company that's going to lower their prices. There is inflation that doesn't really show any signs of slowing down. The yen continues to make things difficult on them. I don't see them doing it. If I'm wrong, that's the best thing to be wrong about. If I'm wrong, I will throw confetti in the air and be like, you guys were right. I was wrong. The PS6 is cheaper. Look at this. There ain't no way. 800 minimum. 800 minimum. The only way you could compel me that it won't be 800 minimum is because it's too big of a jump from standard PS5s. Maybe I'm thinking too narrowly about this. It's possible. I might be putting on blinders and thinking too narrowly and only looking at the PS5 Pro. Maybe I need to consider the fact that the base PS5 is $450 or $500, and jumping that up by $300 to $350 might be too much for the lion's share of PlayStation 5 owners. So there's a distinct possibility that I'm misreading this. But when I look at PlayStation, all I see is Apple. It's like they're acting like Apple, bro. They're just going to keep raising their prices. They are. Now listen, I don't think that has anything to do with Xbox, by the way. I don't think so. I don't think it has anything to do with Xbox. I think they would have done this regardless. I think it's part of their brand. Their tech company. You know, their tech company. I don't know. Again, if I'm wrong, great. But I'm thinking minimum. I'm thinking minimum is 800 on the PS6, just because by the time we get there, I don't think the PS6 comes as soon either. I think it's like a 2029, 2030 release. I think they're going to stretch this gen. So in 6 years, I think people will think very differently about spending $800 on a piece of technology, because I think by then everything will be more expensive. Your gas, your bread, your food, everything. I see minimum 600, says Ginger. No disk drive. Maybe game prices go up to 80. I'd buy a PS6 for $1,000 if the tech's worth it, says Autogon Oslant with a $2 super chat tip. You can compare the Pro price to new gen. They subsidize new gen and the yen will recover by then. It's possible, Garrett. Yes. Oh, you're saying I can't compare Pro. Right. I admitted I might have been thinking too narrowly about it, Garrett. It's very possible that I got tunnel vision zeroed in on the PS5 Pro, and I'm ignoring the fact that the base models are $450 and $500. Jumping from being like, wait a minute, you guys just sold PS5s for $450 and now you're charging $800? Like, it's very possible I'm getting tunnel vision on this. I'm just thinking my argumentation is based off of two things. They're posturing like Apple and inflation. And the yen. Now, you're saying the yen will recover by then. Well, hopefully it does. Hopefully it does. Assume Parasite left a comment on the video. Guys, we're about halfway to the 400 like milestone. Take a quick second and smash that like button. And also, I tell you what we can start doing. Members, start submitting questions with the question command. I'll start pulling your questions up on the screen. I think we already have one from MASH. Let's get a couple more in there. Assume Parasite says, I think Xbox is going through a massive change. I hope they come out and just say, we understand our Xbox loyalty, but we're moving to a different path to let everyone be a part of gaming. It's not just PC and Xbox. Transparency will help. Here's the thing, though. They basically already said that. Phil Spencer sat down. Where was that? Was it Tokyo Game Show? I can't remember if this was Tokyo Game Show or Summer Game Fest. Phil Spencer sat down and did an interview, and he's like, I think we said at the time that we would learn, that we would learn about bringing our games to other platforms. And essentially, the paraphrase of the argument is, yeah, more games are going to go. More games are going to go to other platforms. They've already told everybody what they're doing. They've already told everybody. Nobody would listen. Oh my gosh. This isn't directed at Assume Parasite. This isn't. But I worry that some of you guys are victims of the obfuscation. The Team Green spent so much time obfuscating what was happening. Track the timeline. In November of last year, Phil Spencer does an interview with Famitsu, and he says, we view those platforms as part of the community now. And Famitsu's like, when did this change happen? You're viewing Nintendo and PlayStation as part of your community? And Phil Spencer points to Minecraft. And at the time, I observed and I said, this is a paradigm shift to publishing. Why? Because Phil Spencer's saying, we looked at Minecraft and we're like, what are we doing? Look at how much money we can make. And then the money man, the CFO, he goes to a Wells Fargo summit and he tells investors and would-be investors, he tells them, you're going to see a bit of a change of strategy. Platforms that we previously considered competitors, everybody glossed over this fact, they're going to start getting first-party games. Everybody gets quiet and goes down because Windows Central does an interview with Phil Spencer where Phil Spencer says, we have no plans to put Game Pass on PlayStation or Nintendo. One of the greatest signs of Phil Spencer's ability to calm the masses with a simple sleight of hand magic trick. Everybody's talking about first party and PlayStation is no longer a competitor. And he's like, whoop, whoop. Now you see it, now you don't. Oh, I'm just going to talk about Game Pass not going to PlayStation and Nintendo. We don't have plans to do that. And everyone's like, yay, thank you, Phil Spencer. You don't remember that? That all happened almost a year ago. It happened a year ago. And everybody obfuscated and, oh, clearly the CFO is only talking about Activision Blizzard. Copium. Clearly he's only talking about Activision Blizzard. Then we strut into 2024 and the tide starts to come in. It starts to come in. It starts to crash against the rocks. It starts to crash against the shore. Satya Nadella's like, well, now we can do what we've always wanted to do. Publish great games and put them on all platforms. And he says consoles after he says Xbox. Obfuscation, spin. No. Satya said that after he talked about acquiring Activision Blizzard, so clearly Satya only means Activision Blizzard games. And then the rumors start swirling. Games are coming. There are first-party games that are going to go to PlayStation. No, there's not. No, this is hopium. This is copium. This is port begging. And then they do a podcast. The podcast heard round the world. And what did they do again? 4 games. Are those 4 games Indiana Jones and Starfield? They're not Indiana Jones and Starfield. Yeah, that lasted how long? How long did that last? Phil Spencer, once again, playing sleight of hand with the gullible Xbox community. That's not Starfield and Indiana Jones. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And I get mocked and made fun of and jeered at and thrown in videos because I said what nobody wanted to say at the time, who was a bleed green person. I said, listen to me. It's not about what Phil says. It's about what he doesn't say. He said those 4 games are not Indiana Jones and Starfield. And then Summer Game Fest happens. And what does everybody do? Well, Phil Spencer lied. No, he didn't. You just have really, really low discernment skill points. And you need to spend a little bit more in your discernment. Because he clearly said, yeah, those 4 games, it's not Starfield and Indiana Jones. How confident are you in anything the man says at this point? He makes you look over here, switches the cards, and he's like, see, this is an ace of spades. And everyone's like, yay, look at what Phil did. And in the wake of new hardware announcements for PlayStation, where PlayStation will have the claim of world's most powerful console with the PS5 Pro, everyone's just jumping into buckets of brain-numbing copium. They're running to all these these apparently super knowledgeable PC YouTubers who apparently don't know jack squat about PCs, as they encourage you to build weaker PCs for more money. They might as well sell you snake oil. And then the plane lands. The plane finally lands for a lot of people, and it's a single tweet from Rod Ferguson. A single tweet from Rod Ferguson. Diablo 4 will be PS5 Pro enhanced. I believe it's the first big Activision Blizzard title to hit Game Pass. Celebrated by all these people. Yeah, finally getting some ABK on Game Pass. It's going to be PS5 Pro Enhanced. Best place to play Diablo 4 on a console is going to be the PS5 Pro. Planes landed for a lot of these guys now. They're like, well, I feel betrayed. You should. And you should have felt betrayed a whole lot earlier. You should have spent less time spitting in my face. You should have spent less time calling me a pony. You should have spent less time attacking people who were trying to tell you what was going on. And now here you sit. A library of games, Game Pass, and your property, your most treasured property, going elsewhere and looking better. Question from MASH. If they make Halo Combat Evolved Remake, let's say for the 25th anniversary of Halo on November the 15th of 2026, do you think they launch it multiplat? I think I'm gonna try to pull up the hang on a second. There we go. I'm gonna try and pull up the tweet from Tom Warren. Right? I'm gonna try and pull up the tweet from Tom Warren. Because I think he's signaling that he knows something. All right. So he says here, just a reminder, I reported on future Halo stuff in my Notepad newsletter in June. And this is what he says. One game that is being considered for release on PS5 is Halo, though. Sources tell me Microsoft is working on some form of Halo Combat Evolved Remaster that is also being considered for rival consoles. I don't expect Microsoft to announce this during the showcase, as it's still early days for this remaster. So he's saying two things there. He's saying, listen, they're considering Halo for rival consoles. There are also sources telling me that there's a Halo Combat Evolved Remaster that's being considered for rival consoles. So yes, I think Tom Warren tweeted that today in the wake of all that Halo stuff. I mean, I want you to really think about something with me. Tom Warren's got sources. Tom Warren was the one that let us know what games were coming. He was winking and nodding about what games were coming. And he also knew about Indiana Jones coming to PlayStation. And he winked and he did little nods and nudges on Twitter about it. He's doing it again. In the wake of the Halo Unreal 5 engine announcement, Tom Warren's like, hey, remember, a couple of months ago, I reported about this. They were considering Halo for rival consoles. I think he's doing more wink, nudge, nudge. He's like, yep, this is what this is about. This switch to Unreal, that's what this is about. Look how much they're hurting about the Diablo 4 thing. This guy's name is Xbox Series X. Okay. As an Xbox fan, I was expecting full utilization of the Xbox Series X and S. DirectX 12 Ultimate, mesh shaders, VRS Tier 2, DirectX ray tracing, DirectML, velocity, architecture, quick resume, direct storage, GPU decompression, sampler, feedback streaming. Rod's not going to do that. The backlash will be relentless. Listen, with all due respect, the backlash from who? Who? You have the smallest user base. Your hardware sales are floundering. Backlash from who? What are you gonna do? You have no buying power if you've been on, like, let's say you didn't buy Diablo 4. There was a lot of celebration about Diablo 4 coming to Game Pass, right? Where's your buying power? What are you gonna do? You gonna cancel Game Pass? Okay, let's say you do that. Then what are you gonna do? Well, I'll switch sides. Okay, I'm just assuming based on the tweet that you're a fan of Diablo. So if you switch sides and you want to keep playing Diablo, stands to reason you're going to have to buy Diablo. They're going to get your money anyway. You don't have a play. I've argued this before in the past. Like, you don't have a play. If that's the route you took as the consumer, celebrating Game Pass, celebrating not buying big pieces of property, I really want you to think about the timeline here for the average Xbox fanboy on Twitter and all these guys that run these podcasts. What were they doing? They were cheering for the ZeniMax acquisition. They were cheering for the Activision Blizzard acquisition. Why? So that all those games could go to Game Pass. Okay? That's the kind of consumer that was celebrating these things. And now that they're seeing, well, yeah, that's great that we get Diablo 4 and Black Ops 6 on Game Pass, but if these games start landing PS5 Pro enhanced, that creates a value gap. That creates a value gap. Suddenly, you have games at their best on what was formerly the rival team. That's the rival team over there. Do you remember when the CFO said first, better, or best? He's like, yeah, we want these titles to be first, better, or best on the Xbox platform. Well, you could argue, well, if I sign up for Ultimate, I get it day one on Game Pass, and I think that's better. Okay, you can think that subjectively as a consumer, but that's not landing as first, better, or best on the Xbox platform. That's landing first, better, or best on Game Pass. Game Pass isn't the platform. The CFO was talking about the platform itself. The only way to maintain what he said is if they always stagger the PS5 Pro enhanced label. If it's always staggered. Like, I think Blade is a multi-plat day and date release. I think when Blade lands, it's going to land everywhere. It's going to be PC, Xbox, PlayStation, all at the exact same time. I could potentially see them holding off on the PS5 Pro enhanced label. But I think you're going to get to the point where, like, nobody's going to even care. People like Lono bought the Series X to see that 60 FPS high fidelity visuals, and they lied. It certainly feels that way. Like, how many games am I going to get from Xbox first party that launch at 30 FPS? Redfall, Starfield, Hellblade 2, and now Avowed. I don't care that they patch Starfield and Redfall later. That doesn't matter. You're launching games at 30 FPS on a box that's supposed to be the world's most powerful console. You know what PlayStation hasn't done to me yet? They have not once launched a first-party game at 30 FPS. They haven't done it yet. They haven't. My biggest criticism is for Final Fantasy XVI's performance mode. That's not a first-party title. Just think about that comparison. All those games launched at 30 FPS. Redfall, Starfield, Hellblade 2, and now Avowed's about to come out. That's 4 games. I don't care if they patch them later. Why do I have to come back later? What is that? This is the most powerful console, and you keep launching your first-party titles at 30 FPS. So, for me, it's like, the choice is clear. I'm going to primarily game on the Pro. Like, why? And then the question comes in, when does the PS5 Pro enhanced label land? When does it land? I don't know. If Blade lands multi-plat, day and date, on all platforms, and I'm Microsoft, and I'm trying to make money, I want those PS5 Pro consumers to know, hey, we did work for you. Buy the game. What are you going to do? You're going to upset the guys that are going to download it on Game Pass and they suddenly decide to not download it on Game Pass? Oh, boo the frick who? Nobody cares. Nobody cares. That's why I always told you guys. It's like, that they have no buying power. If that's your posture in the market, what's your buying power? Well, I'm not going to download Blade on my Game Pass Ultimate subscription. Oh, you go, girl. You show them. Pro Enhanced means little to the Xbox install base. That's what I'm saying, Paul. I think the average consumer is not going to pay any attention to it. And the ones that get mad on Twitter, well, what's your recourse? You going to not download Blade? You're just not going to play it out of spite? Of course not. That's why I think Xbox will potentially be like, well, who cares? Just put it on there. Put the label on there. We want the PS5 Pro owners to know that this is a game worth buying. So, I mean, it's all about the money at that point. So, it'll be really interesting to see how it plays out. It'll be real interesting to see how it plays out. Next question from my man Ginger Prime. He says, did you see that Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster on Xbox is Xbox Play Anywhere, meaning you get it on console and PC? This is a first to my knowledge for any third-party game. Can we check this, chat? Is this accurate? Ginger's usually on point with his facts here on these gaming topics. I mean, especially Final Fantasy. Is this true? Is this the first third-party game to be Xbox Play Anywhere? If so, that's, I mean, obviously a big win for the people that have always said, like, yeah, if you buy a bunch of games on Xbox, they don't necessarily show up backwards compatible on your, your PC. Like, all my games that I bought during Xbox One and the Xbox 360 era, I can't bring them with me to PC. Paul says that's not the first time. I feel like if it was the first time, it would have been heavily celebrated, would it not? I feel like more people would have drawn attention to that. It looks like it's slipping just a little bit. Yeah, Metaphor is slipping just a little bit. 91, 42 total reviews on OpenCritic. Yeah, it's definitely getting a nomination. It slipped on PC to 91, Xbox slipped to 92. It's the strongest on PlayStation 5 with a 94. But again, only 31 reviews on PS5 versus the 133 for Astrobot. John with the $5 Super Chat tip says, paying billions for Activision leads to needing to make a profit. Why are people mad? Best course is to own a PC and a PlayStation Pro. Microsoft's a software company. I kept saying they were going to go software strategy. Guys, very quickly, could we get 25 more likes? This is probably the best performing Gaming News Today stream we have done. I love this new format. I get to do an upload that's like opinion-based, topic-based, but we did not have to take today's live show and keep it on one topic. We have been all over the place. We've talked Halo, we've talked PS5 Pro, we've talked Game of the Year nominations, we've talked Xbox's future. Man, this has been a blast. If you guys have enjoyed this content, very quickly, make sure you hit subscribe so you can talk in my chat. That's totally free. Hit like, and if you're going to become a member and support the channel directly, make sure you pick Member Plus. Member Plus is $6, and it gets you into all of the extra content. We do a green room thing. We do IRL streams sometimes. We're trying to get 600 people at Member Plus and above. Currently, we're at like 560, so we're getting close. Thank you for the $5 Super Chat tip again, by the way, John Sem. Do you think Horizon Lego on Switch will be a hitter for PlayStation and Switch? I think it'll be popular on Nintendo because it's Lego. And then I think it'll potentially bring people over. And Sal gifts 5 members and says, let's support the channel and the community. My man bumps the line to 83. Almost on pace. We need 100 members a day, roughly. That's both resubs, that's upgrades, and that's gifteds. So always remember, when you upgrade to Member Plus and above, you get credit for 2 in the weekly total. Trill Troll with a question. Between Black Myth Wukong or Stellar Blade, which game has a better chance at winning Best Action Game of the Year? Not to be confused with the Best Fighting Game category. Yes, a great question. I'd have to look at where they landed on OpenCritic because that's going to affect your quantity of votes. Black Myth Wukong, I feel like it didn't get the greatest treatment by the review outlets. Oh, snap, 37. There's another one. Ginger Prime bumps the line to 84. If you guys hit that $sign at the bottom of the chat, sometimes you have a membership that you can celebrate. So Stellar Blade is sitting at an 82 on OpenCritic, and Black Myth is sitting at an 82. So basically, it's going to be, I think either game could take it. There might be another game we're forgetting, though, that'll steal it from them. Action game? Action game? Yo, gifted from DJB. Bumps the line to 85. Thank you so much. 15 away from the daily average that we need to see. Sony doesn't win Game of the Year, it would be unfair. What does that even mean? That sentence doesn't make any sense. Why would it be unfair? Was it unfair when The Last of Us Part 2 won? I mean, that was a Sony game. Infinite Wealth? Infinite Wealth will get a nomination, but it will... will it be considered an action game? Would Spark and Zero be considered an action game? Yeah, I don't know. If I had to pick between Stellar Blade and Wukong, I think Wukong would take it. Even though it's horribly optimized on the PlayStation. I just think Wukong would have more reviews. Because Stellar Blade is limited to one platform. So I'm applying the same logic here of quantity. I think Stellar Blade wouldn't have enough reviews. I think Wukong... how many reviews does it have total here? Let's compare. Wukong has 78. Never mind. I had it backwards. Stellar Blade has 130 reviews versus Wukong 78. So Stellar Blade might have an advantage over. Just quantitatively, there's more people potentially voting. Meaning its likelihood goes up. Peachy Creamy with a member plus renewal bumps the line to 86. Thank you so much. When do you think the first PlayStation exclusive from Xbox is released? Huh? When do you think the first PlayStation exclusive from Xbox is released? I don't understand that question. Next question's from Ignorance Pleroma. Which game are you most excited to play on the PS5 Pro? Which do you think will benefit more that hasn't been mentioned by Sony? Final Fantasy 16 is the one that I want to boot up right away because I'd like to go back and finish that game. And I'm hoping that it automatically just gets a performance bump and then is much better. So Final Fantasy 16 is the one that I've been thinking about the most. We don't acknowledge the T-Lu 2 win. That was robbery. Okay, cool. So your argument is not good. Peachy Creamy with a gifted member. Wait, did I count that one already? I don't think it... Did I? Did I bump the line to 86 for Peachy Creamy? I can't remember if I did or not. Roadkill with 19 months. What's going on, everybody? I love gaming right now. Thank you so much, Roadkill. Play the DLC. I want to. I didn't even finish the base game, dude. It was so bad. When you would go into the towns or you would explore, it was so bad. Wukong's lack of a parry mechanic exclusive from Best Action Game. You know, I might actually agree with you, Sayo, but I didn't play it enough to really commentate on all the different shapes and forms you could take that might basically add depth to replace that. Because, like, you know, Stellar Blade has an amazing parry and dodge system, and you can do the tacky form. But, you know, I don't know. I didn't? No, you didn't, Beardo. All right, there it is. Peachy Creamy gifts a member. We're 13 away from the first 100 of the week, guys. Keep going. Is YouTube acting up? Holy moly, we're just falling. What happened? I wonder if YouTube had us on like the front page or something and they kicked... Oh, we hit the 2-hour mark. I wonder if they kept us on the front page for 2 hours or something. We were cruising there for a while, man. We were getting really, really good. That was amazing. You guys were crushing it too with the discussion. It was so lively. You know what I mean? That was so much fun. Suggested search and browse. Yeah, we had a high browse, so it's possible we were on the front page. It's possible. Black Myth 89 over 14. How many Metacritic? OpenCritic grabs them all though, Lone Wolf. So how many Metacritic reviews does Stellar Blade have? FF16's DLCs were amazing. 137. Yeah, see, Stellar Blade's got a quantitative advantage there. There's just more potential people voting for it. And Black Myth doesn't have a great score on PlayStation, so anybody who reviewed Black Myth on PlayStation would likely pick Stellar Blade over it. So, let's see here. Atlas says, do you plan to make a video about everything going on with Ubisoft? Not really interested in the woke nonsense, but I'm seeing a lot of Bungie's hubris in Ubi now, especially after the dev's remark. You know, I don't know. I don't really like covering Ubisoft. We don't get great results because it's like, who wants to watch that? You know, it's like, who wants to watch that? It's just going to be negative and like depressing and sad. Like, so many people have put out, you know, the harsh hit pieces on UB. I just feel like it would be white noise. I don't feel like I have a unique perspective to bring because, like, I've always enjoyed Ubisoft's property, but I'm not like a diehard Ubisoft fan. So I'm just kind of like, yeah, I kind of hope you guys get bought out, and I kind of hope it leads to the property being treated better because I feel like they've really squandered a lot of their property. So, all right, let me give you guys the 20-minute mark. Now's a great time to gift members. Round us out to the 100 because a lot of people have left. Once they sense the show is winding down, they'll leave. It tends to go to the more loyal viewers when you do that, when you kind of wait till the end. And then I'll obviously gift the 5 when we hit 100. Thank you guys so much. If you guys want to go crazy, I'll obviously do the gauntlet where if you hit 200, I'll do the 50 bomb. I always do that. Like, if you guys go above and beyond, I'll drop 50 bombs instead. So I would do the 5 for 100. If you double it, then I'll make good and go crazy along with you. So you guys got 20 minutes to do that. Great start to the week, though. Thank you guys so much. Sneaky Wolf says, what is Metaphor? If you're familiar with Persona games, it's basically that kind of game with turn-based. I can give you guys a little trailer here. Race to 100, let's go. Lido cracks off a Member Plus renewal and gets us to 88. You guys can get us there really fast with upgrades because those count as 2. Do we get gameplay in this video? Yeah. Here we go. Let me give you a trailer. So, here you go. Here's Metaphor. So this game right now has almost assuredly secured a Game of the Year nomination. I don't think it's going to have enough to beat Astrobot. I think Astrobot has more quantitatively in its corner. Astrobot also is probably going to end up with a stronger score as well. So Persona games, turn-based, the art style, people absolutely love these games. So if you're a big fan of Persona or turn-based games, you'll probably love Metaphor based on everything we're seeing. So I kept telling people that it would change the Game of the Year discussion. It was the last game that could, and it seemingly is. And a 5 bomb from Black Ant. Thank you so much. And that takes us to 93. Nuke 504, if you're celebrating just a gifted membership, man, thanks for being here. If you're paying for that membership, you're going to want to bump up to Member Plus. I cannot count standard memberships in the goal because I can't tell if it's a gifted or not. So I can't tell if I'd be double dipping. So let's see. Let's go to another question. And anybody that gets a gifted member, you can take part in the Q&A right now. You can submit questions with the question command. I know it's been discussed, but do you expect Halo Studios to bring Halo Multiplat with the shift to UE5? And if so, do you also expect them to give the OG trilogy and the remake treatment? Well, I would say, first and foremost, yes. The shift to UE5 and Tom Warren's tweet tells me that they are indeed shifting to a multiplat strategy with Halo. I believe that. I believe that Microsoft has clearly signaled when they invest this level into something that they are going to make it multiplat. Oh, you paid for it, Nuke? Yeah. If you it's $6 versus $5, but then I can tell every month that you're a paying member. YouTube doesn't give me the ability to see the difference, and I actually create more content for you, for the folks that are paying, because I want to say thank you. So I go above and beyond because I feel like you're going above and beyond. So if you can upgrade, there's an upgrade command, and it helps me differentiate, and it also helps you because then you get credit every month in the goal. So I do think they're switching. Now, you're asking about the OG trilogy. This is what I think they're going to do. I think they're going to do Combat Evolve Remaster. That'll obviously land multiplat. I wouldn't be surprised if we see the Master Chief Collection on PS5 either. They say there's multiple projects right now that they're working on. And then obviously the new Halo is going to be in UE5. So yeah, I think honestly, I think everything's coming. I think once Halo starts to move, it's over. No one will ever think that anything is safe. Right now, there's no real reason to think anything is safe, but I think there are people that are kind of holding out hope that there are some titles that would be viewed as sacred. I don't think there's anything sacred anymore, because as Jason Schreier from Bloomberg said in that interview, they have a parent company that is now like, they're getting pressure from. It's like, hey man, you got to start to make some money here. And I don't think they can make enough money off the Xbox user base. They can't. There's not enough of them. And they've conditioned them to primarily use Game Pass for their biggest releases. You know, Black Ops 6 landing on Game Pass, you are going to see less commercial sales of Black Ops 6 on Xbox than in the past. It's why Activision always avoided doing it, because they knew they would make more money by not going on Game Pass. So it'll be, it's just going to be more and more of a shift in this direction. Microsoft has clearly signaled, they have clearly signaled, when we do this, when we invest in something, when we invest in the future of something, it's coming to the other platforms. You know, the question is, will Halo survive? That IP can get buried by COD, Battlefield. I hate to say it, Fortnite. It's the older PlayStation fans that wanted to play, most of which barely play anymore. I think the future of Halo would be, you've got to lean into not primarily wanting to be like a live service game. You got to kind of do I think they need to take inspiration from Helldivers. You build an incredible campaign, make an incredible co-op, and then you make an incredible, online offering for ongoing that doesn't necessarily need to be like a PvP live service game. Take a page out of like Helldivers' book, That's what I would do. That doesn't mean you can't have Halo PvP, but I'm saying I would supplement your ability to survive as an ongoing game. I would supplement with something like what Helldivers does. So, Steven Xbox Gamer with a question says, I know Astrobot has been out for a month, but will it win Game of the Year, or does Final Fantasy VII Rebirth remain the crown? No, I think Astrobot is, I think Astrobot's the clear winner. We could just do a quick comparison here. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Metacritic. And the only reason I go to Metacritic is because we're talking about a jury process, right? A jury process. So Final Fantasy VII Rebirth has 151 reviews at a 92. Astrobot has 135 at a 94. So while Rebirth has a slight advantage, 16 more people reviewed it, 16 more outlets reviewed it, Astrobot has a higher score. So the issue there is that you're just going to have more people say, yeah, that's the one. I also think Astrobot just has broader appeal. There are people that just are like, this is a great game. It harkens back to Mario Galaxy. It harkens back to the best platformers. It harkens back to the best, action games, or adventure games. I love Astrobot, but FF7 is just outright the better game. There are plenty of people that think that. You're totally free to think that. I think it's a great year in gaming if you get to say that question, if you get to make that statement. I want you to really think about what that means. Metaphor is getting a nom, guaranteed. Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, getting a nom, guaranteed. Look at the diversity in that lineup. Just incredible. You've got Astrobot, FF7 Rebirth, Metaphor, and Like a Dragon. I don't even care who wins at that point. It's like, dude, the gaming world's just eating really, really good. I mean, that's not even including the other categories. Tekken 8 and Dragon Ball in the fighting category, in the RPG category, in the action adventure category. You got Black Myth, you got Stellar Blade. Dude, it's an amazing year. It doesn't really even matter who won at that point. Look at the diversity in the nominations that we're going to see this year. Free JRPGs? Yeah, but they're very different. I mean, that's obviously true, William Long, but they're very different. Like, I don't think anybody would say that Like a Dragon and Metaphor and FF7 Rebirth are similar games. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Animal Well could get up there. Balatro could get up there. Great year for indies. That Kill Knight game, oh my gosh, if you guys haven't played Kill Knight. If you like really, really high intense games and twin stick shooters, you need to check out Kill Knight. It is so much fun. Oh my gosh, I've been working through on the challenges to unlock the gear. The hardest thing I'm working on right now is I can't let my, what's it called, blood power or whatever it's called, blood level. I can't let my blood level go down the entire first level. I played the entire first level and I maintained my combo the entire time. I got up to over 1,000. It was so satisfying. But my blood level goes down because like you fill it by picking up the blood, and as it fills, it resets when you roll over into the new one. And if you reset at the exact wrong time and you take some damage, it goes right back to where you were and you fail the challenge. So it's a more difficult challenge. Like you've really got to navigate when to pick up all the blood and when to roll over. You're almost better off not really rolling over, like almost like maintaining your blood power. Like it gets close to filling and then let it drop, and then get it close to filling and then let it drop. I wonder if that's how you're supposed to complete the challenge, because rolling it over is really risky. You should check out Kill Knight. You're like, what is this guy talking about? Just check it out. It's definitely a cool game. So yeah, I still think Astrobot's going to take Game of the Year. I do. I just think the way that people praised Astrobot, people talked about it as if it was the Game of the Year. People praised FF7 Rebirth as a great game, but they didn't talk about it in quite the same way. I think the high level of praise I saw from all the outlets, when the questions posed to them, what's the Game of the Year? I think most of those, I think the majority, not all, the majority will say Astrobot, which is why it will win. I think there are people that are going to say no, FF7 Rebirth, but I think FF7 Rebirth will simply lose because the majority will say Astrobot. It could be easy. I mean, 60% of the outlets could pick Astrobot and 40% could pick FF7 Rebirth, and then Astrobot's going to win. That's still a ton of people picking FF7 Rebirth. So, question from Dylan. Will you revisit Diablo 4 on the PS5 Pro? Also, do you foresee Call of Duty getting a PS5 Pro tag? That's the one, isn't it? That's the next one to ask the question about. Like, what if? You know? Guys, in 9 minutes, we're going to go to the writer's room. You got 9 minutes to roll the member count on the week to 100. I told you that if you hit 200, I'll drop a 50 bomb. I have thrown down a gauntlet. I'm trying to give us a head start on the week because we really slowed down last week. So I was like, all right, let's maybe hit the ground faster this week. If not, we'll be totally fine at the 100. But I like to give you guys those opportunities to get a ton more people in the door. You think the name and ambition of Rebirth could push it over Astrobot? No. No. If anything, the name might hurt it a little bit. There's just been so much Final Fantasy lately. I think it's one of the reasons they've seen diminished, sales, because they're just launching their titles all on top of each other. So it's like Final Fantasy this and Final Fantasy that and it's like, okay, that's a lot of Final Fantasy. I think that's one of the reasons they've seen, rough sales. Matt Baggs with the VIP gets us a little bit closer. Renewals count, boys. If it's a member plus or a VIP, check to see if you've got a renewal. Welcome back, Matt. It would be cool if Wukong or Stellar Blade got Game of the Year. They didn't score high enough to even come close. Louis Love with a member plus. He makes it really, really easy. 95. We're a 5 bomb away. He says NVIDIA killing 4080 and 90 to create scarcity for 50 series is crap. Also, any thoughts on Forever Winter? I'm on the fence. Month 24, here I come. Forever Winter? What's this? Forever Winter. Came out a month ago. Co-op tactical survivor horror shooter. 74% on Steam out of 10,000 votes. Oh, it's early access. I feel like we looked at this and I thought it looked cool. Yeah. I think this looks cool. It's kind of like Helldivers meets... I don't even know what. It's almost like Helldivers meets Metro or something. It looks good. It looks very, very cool. It being in early access, hopefully they can turn that score around because the score is not that great right now. It's not crap. They're stopping making a car that's about to become obsolete. Yo, there it is. The 5 bomb from Noah. He lands the plane exactly on 100. And I owe you guys 5 members. Great start to the week, guys. Seriously, man. Feels so good to have an upload go well this morning and get support. And then this segment, letting me do a variety gaming show, is just such a big deal. We wanted to do this. I honestly thought we were going to have to wait a really, really long time before we were going to be able to do a show like this. So thank you guys so much for that support. Setting up the redirect to writer's room. Probably not see any of those 3 get noms. What's the other one? Yeah, I don't think Stellar Blade gets one. Wukong doesn't get one. People are going to claim that Wukong isn't getting one because, you know, everything is because woke now. You know, I stubbed my toe because woke. That's not why. Wukong is great, and I have a video saying that I thought it was going to be a Game of the Year contender, and then it came out, and it's a good game. It's not a Game of the Year contender. It isn't. Poorly optimized on the PlayStation 5. It was largely a boss rush. You know, it was good. It was a good game. That's not shade at all. But you got to be at a high level if you want to be up there with these games hitting 92s, 93s, 94s. If Helldivers 2 landed now and didn't run into all the issues, it would have a better shot. It was a very fun game. And a single gifted from Siege Master, the Agent of Chaos. He pushes us over 100. You guys have 4 minutes. I threw down the gauntlet. I said, if you guys go crazy, I'll go crazy. If you can get this to 200 members, I'll drop a 50 bomb. I don't know if it's possible in 4 minutes. You would need some of the OGs to come out of the woodwork. Mash says, honestly, if I was voting, I'd give Game of the Year to Balatro. Yeah, I like Balatro. I play it on my phone. I tell you what, man, that Peglin game what's its score on Steam? I wish it was on other platforms. It's on Steam and the Nintendo Switch. Dude, I get a hankering to play it all the time now. It has an 80% on Steam, and then the most recent scores it has a 70. I wonder why. Why is the score a little bit lower? It got hit with a bunch of negative reviews September 15th to the 18th. I'd be interested to know why. I've really enjoyed it. I wonder what people are not liking. I'm shocked the developers have not fixed any of the common complaints from early access. The most important part of a roguelike is the gameplay, and for there to be gameplay, the player needs to actually be able to influence what happens in the game. Peglin initially seems to be similar to other roguelikes in that aspect, with orbs to upgrade, buy, and remove as you get relics. Plus, you get to decide where that shoots, and you know what? It seems to be balanced well enough. However, you may begin to notice something once you start going up in difficulty with the game's Crucible modifier. There's 20 Crucible levels, but it's impossible to beat them unless you're lucky. Why? It simply does not offer the player enough control. Oh, I mean, I kind of agree with this. I don't know if I would give the game a thumbs down for that, but there certainly is elements to Peglin that can be frustrating. Like, you can get in a boss fight or a setup where the orbs are terrible, and that's just literally why you lose. That's why you lose. You don't lose because you made a mistake. It's like, no, it's just a bad setup. Yeah, you playing right now, Chris? It's fun, isn't it? It can be a little frustrating when you feel like it sets up a terrible stage and there's nothing you can do. It doesn't matter how good your shots are. It doesn't matter how good your weapons are. Sometimes it literally just sets you up to fail. Crucible 15 Plus is heavily RNG. I've not even done Crucible modifiers, and there are times where I feel like I lose to RNG. It's just like, that's a bad peg setup. All right, last question, and oh wait, did I answer this? Will you revisit Diablo 4 on the PS5 Pro? Also, do you foresee Call of Duty getting the Pro tag? Oh, I ignored the first half of the question. I started talking about the Pro tag. I think Black Ops 6 will get the PS5 Pro enhanced. I do. I don't. That'll be one of the ones where we see if it gets it later. That was one of my questions in the upload today. Will they get it on the launch date or will it come later? But I do think Black Ops 6 will get it. As far as Diablo 4, I want to go back to Diablo 4. They need to rebuild those skill trees. Those skill trees still look stupid to me. I want to play PoE 2. I think PoE 2 is going to be like Cyberpunk to Starfield. Like when I played Phantom Liberty, I couldn't go back to Starfield. I feel like if I play PoE 2, I'm not going to be able to go back to Diablo. The skill trees just look boring and dumb, as they have since launch date. So, Steven, Xbox Gamer, maybe Astro can compete with Mario, but maybe Mario is too big and Astro's getting started. Astro can't compete with Mario. Nobody can compete with Mario. No, nobody can compete with Mario. Oh, Metaphor score went back up by a point. No. Trying to compete with Mario is like trying to compete with McDonald's. Like, you can't do it. I think it is quite literally impossible for like another fast food burger joints to compete with McDonald's. I don't think any, short of Pikachu, and I think Pikachu's a little bit different because Pikachu is externally popular. Right? This video is some of your best work, W. I appreciate that, Polaris Protocol. That's really kind. The upload today, that's high praise. I don't think you can. I don't think you can outdo Mario. Mario's king, man. Mario's God. You can't touch him. Pikachu might be globally more popular than Mario, but I think, again, that's unfair because, like, Pokemon is externally popular outside of video games. Like, it's just enormous. It's almost like Harry Potter. You know what I mean? Like, once you're at that level of external popularity, it's hard to make a fair comparison there. It's like, well, yeah, maybe Pikachu's more popular than Mario, but again, it's just different. I don't think in the video game world you can enter the landscape now with, like, a platformer and be like, oh yeah, we're going to compete with Mario. No, you're not. No, you're not. So, all right, it's time to go to the writer's room. This is a great opportunity for those of you that have been gifted a member or you're paying for your own memberships to come with us as we end the day. And if you upgrade to Member Plus or VIP, you can go even beyond that. We'll do a green room afterwards, maybe today. I don't know. We may be doing an upload tomorrow. If I'm doing an upload, I can't do green room, but I try to make time for green room. There were 2 games I mentioned in the show open today of gaming news today to check out, so loop back and check that out. If you can't come to the writer's room, please go check out the upload from today. Xbox and the PS5 Pro, it's doing well. Go give it a little bit of a bump in its viewership. Leave a comment, leave a like. We appreciate you guys so much that go back and do that later. Thanks so much for being a member, and you are now getting access to the writer's room. If this was on your homepage or you're like, why did I get notified that I got a membership? We had 101 gifted members today, which means I also gifted 20. I gift 5 every 25. And if we hit this goal, end of the week, we'll make Madam play Silent Hill 2 Remake on Friday night. It'll be hilarious. So help us hit that goal with gifteds. Also help us hit that goal with upgrades. Those of you that have been upgrading to Member Plus and above, thank you for doing that. We continue to see that just inch by inch get closer to the milestone that we want to see. We're trying to get to 600 Member Pluses and above, and we're at 553. So it slipped a little bit over the weekend. That's usually because people have to re-up. So I'm going to end the previous stream. It was a Gaming News Today stream, and I'm going to redirect folks over, and then I'm going to change that thumbnail to no longer show us as being live. And I think that format really worked well. We were kind of curious what it would feel like